It's time for Twig This Week in Google. This was maybe one of the best shows we've ever done. Mike Elgin is here, Matthew Ingram, Jeff Jarvis. We're going to talk about Google in France. We're going to talk about ad blockalypse. We're going to talk about cheese. It's all next. This Week in Google. I want to watch this one. Stay tuned.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 319, recorded Wednesday, September 23rd, 2015. It's 3:49. This Week in Google is brought to you by the Ring Video Doorbell. With a built-in HD camera and microphone, you can monitor your front door from anywhere in the world using your smartphone. It's like being home, even when you're not. Right now, get $10 off the Ring Video Doorbell when you go to ring.com/twig. And by lynda.com, the online learning platform with over 3,000 on-demand video courses to help you strengthen your business, technology, and creative skills. For a free 10-day trial, visit lynda.com/twig. That's LYNDA.com/twig. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show where we cover the latest. And there is so much to talk about in the Google and the cloud. I hear the dulcet tones of me coming from Mr. I would guess that. I don't know who that's coming from, but I would guess it's from Jeff Jarvis. He's off-site. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Jeff, where are you?
Hi. I'm in Los Angeles at the Century City Hyatt for the Online News Association.
Oh, no. I spoke a couple of years ago to that.
I thought you did. Yes, you did. I don't think I was here that year. But
that was a lot of fun. That was in San Francisco when I did it, and it's a great group, and solving a thorny issue, especially these days.
It's my peeps. It's my tribe.
Your tribe. Well, I'm glad you could. We weren't sure if you'd make it, but I'm so glad you can. Thank you for being here, Jeff.
Delighted.
Teaches journalism.
I did for an earlier flight, and I got here, and I'm in the room, and everything except my Chromebook is working fine.
Thank you, United. Jeff teaches journalism at the City University of New York. He also blogs at buzzmachine.com, and he also is the author of many very important books you must read, and all of which you'll find at buzzmachine.com. Also with us, Mike Elgin, news director here at Twit. He's also a avid Google Pluser.
I enjoy it. You know, since we got Jeff on the horn here, I want to mention that his book photobombed one of our... So we have this thing on Tech News Today, as you know, How I Watch TNT. People take a picture of what they're doing when they're watching TNT, and they send it in. And so his book, What Would Google Do, is conspicuously present in one of the photos recently. And I suspect a plant.
You have a reader.
I suspect the invisible hand of one Jeff Jarvis behind all this.
Can you see Jeff's hand coming in?
In the movie front page with the late, great David Carr.
Yeah.
He used my book as a palm rest for his laptop.
Not bad. Not bad. That'll work. If you can't read it, hold it. Also with us, Matthew Ingram. Always good to see you. Now at Fortune for a long time at GigaHome. Great to see you, Matthew.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in. I wanted to mention real quickly because Cory Doctorow, our good friend and fighter for freedom, mentions it I think on his blog. I don't see it on Boing Boing, but we've talked about it before. There is a bill before the 114th Congress. They hope to vote on it before the end of the month. S-754, sometimes called the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015. And this is something we have up to now been fairly, I say we, but the EFF and grassroots root activists have been fairly successful in fighting. This is the second time through. I think a couple of Congresses ago, last Congress, I guess, they tried to get this through. Mitch McConnell vowed to hold a vote on the bill before the summer. EFF and 20 other privacy groups had a week of action. 6 million faxes opposing CISA, which postponed the vote until now. But here's something kind of depressing, and This is what Corey tweeted, and I'm going to send you to the website if you want to find out more. There's a website called youbetrayedus.org, and it points out that Apple, Microsoft, Adobe, Symantec, Oracle, IBM, Autodesk, and Salesforce have all been publicly lobbying to pass this bill. It's billed as a cybersecurity bill, but the chief benefit for these companies is it would give them legal immunity if they should share our data with the government and law enforcement and other companies, even if it's in violation of their own privacy policy, even without a warrant. So as the company or the group that Fight for the Future that created this page points out, all privacy policies effectively be meaningless.
I disagree with his criticism of the companies. Why wouldn't they support something that gave them immunity from prosecution? Let me give you an example. We talk a lot about how we want really stringent laws because in a really bad crisis, let's say ISIS is about to take over the country or some crazy thing, of course, companies are going to do whatever it takes to help the government track down in some horrible 9/11 scenario that you can't imagine, right? In violation of their privacy policies, possibly in violation of laws. You don't know what happens with the next administration that comes in, decides to prosecute or whatever. I mean, I think this is something we as the public should oppose. But I can see why the NSA wants it. I can see why the companies want it. There's no downside. It's like if I come to you and say, here's a bill that'll give you $10,000. Do you want to support this?
Sure.
Yes, I want to be protected from prosecution.
Yeah, no, of course they're going to lobby in favor of this, but I think it's important to mention it only because these companies, particularly Apple, make a big deal about we care about your privacy.
Right.
You can trust us, and when they turn around and then go to Washington D.C. and go to members of Congress and say, please let us off the hook, it kind of puts the lie to that public proclamation.
But again, they trust themselves.
Yeah, we trust ourselves, but do we trust them? So I understand your point, Mike, which is they're acting in their own self-interest. It's really up to us to defeat this, and that's why you should go to youbetrayedus.org and write to Congress. You know, you can email these companies, but more importantly, at the bottom, a number 985-222-CISA will let you. And you need to call and contact. Best way to do it in either a call, which is easy, because they can identify that you're from their district, and then they're ready for these calls, and they just mark you down a check mark in the box, or snail mail because the postmark will verify your location. But
if your cell number comes from a different area code, they can't verify.
Right.
Can they?
So use your landline if you have a landline.
If you have one.
They may have other ways of verifying your location. I don't actually know that, but
they know where you are.
Leo, I think you make a good point. Tim Cook made a huge speech about Facebook and how all these companies are invading your privacy, but Apple doesn't do that. And yet at the same time, they're lobbying for a bill that would allow them to share data and give them immunity from doing so, as long as they argue that it has something to do with cybersecurity.
Right. I guess Apple's response, or Tim's response, would be, well, we just don't collect that data, so we can't share. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I feel like that's a little disingenuous. We know that they, for instance, have a unique identifier. Mm-hmm. You use an iPhone. You're using an iPad right now. I'm using a Macintosh right now. I can't wait till my new iPhone comes on Friday.
Yep.
Are we foolish for trusting Apple with our private information?
I think they're probably better than average, but they're not as
the average is very low.
Yes, it is. It's a very
low. If you're grading on the curve, okay, but
but I think they're better than average. I just think that there's a difference between a law that says that the government can just help themselves to data, or, for example, the encryption issue. I think Apple's been very strong on that. There's a difference between agreeing to something that results in data collection beyond anybody's control, and your choices between you can be prosecuted, you can't be prosecuted. The lawyers who are behind this stuff at Apple and other companies are always going to choose the no, we don't want to be prosecuted side. That's the difference. It's not. This is not requiring them to share data. It just says that if they do, they can't be prosecuted for it. And this thing should go down in flames because this is not. It sounds even unconstitutional to me, and it sounds like an end run. Most importantly, around all the the protections that we've slowly been starting to erect in the wake of the Edward Snowden revelations.
Right.
And this stuff always happens. You know, whenever something is defeated, it'll be back in some other form. It's got to be defeated. But I just don't see why the companies wouldn't do. If I was a lawyer for Apple, I would be in favor of this too.
Yeah, you
Why
should.
not?
Yeah, right.
Actually, that's not true. If I was the lawyer, I'd probably make a lot more money if we got prosecuted. But you see what I'm saying?
Well, but it also saves money. Somebody pointed out it saves money in having to fight requests for information. You know, Microsoft's spending a lot of money right now to keep data on an international server. What is it? Where is it? France? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Out of the hands of the U.S. Enforcement, or is Ireland? It's Ireland. Out of U.S. enforcement, they're going to lose that battle because of the way the laws are constructed. But they still...
There's a new matter in France where France is going after Facebook, saying, in light of the Snowden revelations, you can't go shipping our data off to another country. So that fight's going on again.
You know, I'm not an anti-government guy. I'm getting more sympathy for the folks who say the government should, in every respect, keep hands off the internet. I was really one of the people in the net neutrality battle who said, no, we need the FCC to step in and promote net neutrality. But I was reading a really, I have to find it, a really great talk in San Francisco. And I don't know who it's by. The fella is so unassuming that he didn't actually put his name in it. His blog is Idle Words. And somebody in the chat room will tell me who he is. But his slide talks a lot about this whole thing, and he gives, as an example, you know, the Snowden revelations, talks about state surveillance, but he also talks about how government intervention is not always going to be good. And he uses an example of the European cookie law. I'm sure you're familiar with this, Jeff Jarvis. And, of course, we're not subject to this, but if a law was passed that a site who uses cookies has to announce that on the site. We see that a lot in the U.S. now, probably because they do business in Europe.
Every news site you go to in the UK and EU, you have to constantly click off the, yeah, I know you got cookies. Yeah, I know you got cookies. Yeah, I know you got cookies. Because it's now become a ridiculous legal thing.
Well, and he points out that really has not been a good remedy.
No.
Because if you don't like cookies, it ends up really, because this, well, I'll read it. The European cookie law is a beautiful example of regulatory disaster. If I want to visit a site in the EU, I need to click through what's basically a modal dialogue. That means you can't do anything else till you click through it. That asks me if I want to use cookies. If I don't agree, this site may be borderline unusable. But close your eyes for a minute. Those of you who feel you really understand the privacy implementations of cookies, raise your hands. And thank you. Those of you who raise your hands, see me after the talk, because I'm a programmer. I wander the earth speaking about this stuff, and I don't fully understand the implications of cookies for privacy. It's a subtle topic. So why is my mom, he's Danish, why is my mom supposed to make a reasoned decision about it every time she wants to check the news or weather? And I say every time because the only way European sites remember that you don't want to use cookies is by setting a cookie. So people who are serious about not being tracked get asked every single page load. Not every single visit to the site, every single page load. Done poorly, laws introduced. Go ahead.
This is Mike's point too. It's ass covering.
Yeah, and it's not.
We asked. We gave you the chance.
Yeah. So write your Congress critter, as Corey would have it, and say S754, please, the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015. When it comes up for a vote, it probably will in the next week. Just say no. Okay. I wanted to launch out with that because I wanted to make sure that we covered that. There's so many other things to talk about. Have we really done ad blocking to death?
Yeah, pretty much.
The news hook this week, of course, is Marco Arment, the world famous Macintosh programmer, Tumblr pioneer, first programmer at Tumblr. Wrote a program called Peace to block ads on iOS. Came out with iOS 9 on Wednesday. After 3 days, number one the #1 paid app on the Apple Store. He pulls it, saying, "I can't in good conscience continue making an ad blocker." He says, "I'm winning a war I don't want to fight." Yeah. And it's not that he is against ad blockers. He's written a number of posts saying I'm pro ad blocker, but he realizes that it's much more complicated, right, than he thought. And he doesn't want to be the guy doing it. Apple cooperated with him by giving refunds to everybody who paid the couple of bucks.
Yeah. And for starters, it's refreshing to see somebody turning down money for principle.
That's potentially a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I would, I would have been tempted to go, I'm going to do this, but I think I'm going to wait a couple of days. I'm #1 in the paid ads category. Maybe if I just take my time. No, but it's laudable that he's doing this, and it's still debatable as to whether or not it's necessary to do that. But it's refreshing and rare to see somebody. He used to work for Tumblr. He's been around for a while. And he had a big hit on his hands, and he basically walked away from it. Very cool. The problem with ad blocking, of course, is that some ads are good, some ads are bad.
This is a blunt weapon. That's the real problem.
Mike, I agree. I'm working on a piece on the airplane coming out, just arguing that we have to reform advertising. Yeah. That we have been complicit with the advertisers and irritating our own users, losing their own trust. The ad blockers just tell us that users say enough and they're going to have it, and we've got to fix that if there's even any time left. Randall Rothenberg, the head of the Interactive Advertising Bureau, had a big piece in the Ad Age today, arguing oddly similarly, saying that too much of advertising is crap and that we've got to improve the standards.
Clearly, I think what we need is a kind of ad blocking that incentivizes quality advertising. I don't know how to do that.
Well, and that's what AdBlock was trying to do with the acceptable ads policy, although you might say they're also trying to make a little money on the side because they'd go to companies like...
No, it's worse than that. It's racketeering. It's blackmail, bribery, racketeering.
They go to Google and say, for a small fee, you could be one of the acceptable ads we do not block. And, of course, Google paid for that.
That's a nice ad network you got there. It'd be a shame if anything happened to it.
It'd be a shame if anything would have happened to it. All right, well, but on the other hand, that is a response to that specific need, which is how do we block just the malicious ads, the reprehensible ads, the ads that triple our downloads, that slow down our pages? How do we block those nasty ads?
Or how do you turn it around, and how do you go to sites that in fact try to encourage how do we define good advertising? What's the definition of quality advertising? Mm-hmm. Now, I argue that it's got to be relevant, #1, useful and informative, #2, and or engaging. It can be any two of those three. And there's things it can't do, right? It's a long list of really irritating things like autoplay video and taking forever and loading too many data points and being not transparent. That's all the negative stuff. On the positive side, I think it's possible that we can have a world of consensual advertising where let the audience be fully in charge and say what advertisers that I won't allow here and I won't be seen. And that gives a message right back to the advertisers saying your ads are crap. We don't care about them.
The irony of it was, of course, that the ad blocker that Marco was using, he was using the Ghostery database, blocks ads on Marco's site, John Gruber's site. The DEC is the network it blocks. Yeah. The DEC's as unobtrusive an
One
ad.
Of the best. Yeah.
I mean, look at Daring Fireball. This is ad supported by a little time. Now, remember, it's one person, so this ad is sufficient. If you're Mobile Nations and running imore.com, you're going to need a few more ads than that to support your much larger...
to me, the solution... I'm sorry to step on you there, Matthew.
No, go ahead.
The solution is pretty obvious, actually, I think. I think that the ideal ad blocker would basically be something like a Chrome extension, and you click on an ad when you don't like it, right? Or you right-click or something.
Oh, you make it a kind of affirmative opt-in thing.
Yes, exactly. But then what it does... Of course, it would need cookies for that. But then what it does is it asks you... You don't want to see any ads on this site. You don't want to see any ads from this company. Like, you get to choose the category of what you're blocking. I don't want to see...
You also need to take away the moral hazard that exists for both Apple and AdBlock Plus. And I think, if anything is going to be a not-for-profit separate entity like Wikipedia, it has to be that because the present players in ad blocking have a moral hazard.
Let me read... Money. Actually, let me let Matthew talk, and then poor Matthew, you're at a disadvantage. But then I'm going to read something from a Seth Godin post on ad blocking. Go ahead, Matthew.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that it's not just advertising that people are using ad blockers for. It's partly tracking. And so what irritates a lot of people is all the cookies and hidden trackers that get loaded by websites that they aren't made aware of. They don't know where their information's going. They don't know who it's being shared with. So it's not just the ads. It's not just that they look ugly or that they take a long time to load. It's all the other stuff that's propagated by those ad networks and by those publishers.
Nobody questions that it's the advertisers and the ad networks that got themselves into this pickle in the first place. Here's what Godin says. Ad blockers undermine a fundamental principle of media, one that goes back 100 years, free content in exchange for attention. The thing is, the FCC, and I'd say the FTC, kept the ad part in check with TV by limiting the number of ads and verifying the veracity of ads. Paper costs did the same things for magazines and newspapers. You can't put an infinite number of ads in a newspaper. It costs you too much. But on the web, more and more people have come to believe the deal doesn't work, and they're unilaterally abrogating it. They don't miss the ads, and they don't miss the snooping of their data. I think that's a fairly succinct description of it. Ads, you know, ad-supported free media has a long and, well, not respectable, but at least a long tradition.
Yeah, respectable, I'd say.
And well, it works on TV, it works on radio, it works for us. But what happened is people on the web went crazy. Advertisers.
So we've got to create a new scarcity around quality. That's my argument.
If you read what
Seth's point is, scarcity went away. Abundance is what killed the old model. We've got to create we quality media outlets have to create a new scarcity. And you're an example, Leo. You're exactly an example. You turned down advertisers. That's why I had that discussion last week, because I wanted to hear your view on that.
But the biggest problem,
the level of quality.
The biggest problem is Ben Thompson pointed this out in his Stratechery newsletter. The biggest problem is that advertising and media used to be joined at the hip because they served similar purposes, or they had a shared goal. But that's not the case anymore. So the advertisers can get the things they want in other places, from social networks, from Facebook, from different platforms. They don't their desires are not aligned with those of media websites anymore. That's the problem. So you either have to figure out how to align your desires with those of advertisers, or vice versa, or you have to figure out how to make money without ads.
It's kind of funny that there's a Chrome extension created by an artist named Darius Kazemi called the Ethical Ad Blocker. And basically what it does is it asks you if you want to block the ads on a site, and when you say yes, it won't show you the site. It just says, nope, you decided not to see this.
Well, the ironic thing is a lot of ad blockers do that to sites already. I've had people tell us that Fortune, if they run an ad blocker, they don't see anything. They don't see any content at all.
Right. CNET started doing that with video.
JavaScript is at the top of the site.
We had Drew Curtis, the CEO and founder of Fark.com, on, because he's running for governor, by the way, of Kentucky, and everybody should vote for him, even if you don't live in Kentucky. But if you run an ad blocker when you go to Fark.com, it actually does a nice thing. I have turned it off, by the way. I use an ad blocker called uBlock Origin. And because I've turned it off, I'm getting a Spanish ad for Carefree panty liners. Not something I'm probably interested in.
Product.
Yeah, and Hulu. But if I turn on the ad blocker on Fark.com, he does, I think, probably the best thing a publisher could do. First thing he has, don't like ads, try Bear Fark. In other words, buy a subscription to Fark as little as a couple of bucks a month, and then a little banner up at the top. Fark feeds our squirrel with revenue from ads. Could you consider Bear Fark? No ads Fark. This comes up because I'm running an ad blocker. I still have access to all the content, but just a gentle nudge in the direction of paying.
Well, and one thing publishers don't do, they don't give people who do pay no ads. So if you subscribe, you still get ads.
Yep.
Right.
So
well, he says he'll give you Bear Fark, an ad-free Fark.
Yep.
Right.
Well, Matthew, but
that's something Fark does. But
you've always paid for the
can
newspaper and gotten ads.
Right.
Right, but I'm saying just because that worked in when paper owned everything doesn't mean it's going to work now.
It's annoying. I don't like to see an ad.
Also, those who say, oh, if they only give me a chance to pay, then that would solve it all. I completely disagree. People who say, I'll pay, will not pay because there's going to be a free alternative somewhere else. We've got a new abundant marketplace now. We've got to deal with that. And we can't afford to give up on advertising. There simply is not enough generosity from individuals or foundations or, God help us, governments to support the journalism we need.
But I think what's going to happen is this is going to focus even more attention on native advertising, because it's one of the few ways where you can theoretically align the interests of your readers and the interests of your advertisers.
But you and I both know what you really do is fool your readers and now fool the ad blockers.
I don't think so. I don't think it has to be that way. Yes, I think sometimes it is that way. I don't think it has to be that way.
You know what?
Here's my idea. I've got a very simple idea on how to solve this for publishers. Serve all your content from the ad server.
Yeah, but then you don't know how many hits you get. You don't know how many impressions you get.
No. Listen to what I'm saying. If you serve your content from your ad server.
Oh, the other way around. Not serve your ads from your server. Serve your content from the ad server.
From the ad server, so your content gets blocked, and that'll show you.
Well, native editorial.
Actually, Oh, that's where we're headed, by the way. There's going to be all ads with a little editorial, and that's usually paid for by advertising.
But I think one thing this does do is it pushes more publishers towards Facebook. Because
and Apple.
And to Apple. If they go to Facebook and Apple, they get a share of that advertising revenue. They don't get blocked.
By the way, isn't that interesting? What a coincidence that Apple, which of course fuels this whole conversation. I mean, this ad blockers have been around forever, but nobody used them until Apple put it in iOS, and now everybody's using them and aware of them. And I think the awareness that's happening now in iOS is going to spread to every other platform. Yeah. So suddenly we have ad blockalypse. So isn't it interesting that Apple does have its own ad platform, iAds?
What a coincidence.
And it happens to work in news. Did you go to Wired earlier this week? If you went to Wired.com, one of their top stories, it said, now this
Special access.
Oh, this pissed me off. This said, you can't read this story on the web. Go to iOS's News app and read it, and we'll put it up on Tuesday.
Yep.
That is the upshot of this, one of the upshots, and that is reprehensible. It's killing an open web in favor of a gated community.
That's why we need advertising. Advertising is what gives us freedom. Alan Rusbridger, former editor of The Guardian, points out that it was advertising that saved us from ownership by political parties and patrons and special interests. If you get to a net where only the rich can afford it and the rich can subsidize it, then we're going to be right back in that world where we get, Donald Trump brings you the news.
I've been thinking a lot about this in general, and let me see if I can express this. I feel like the human mind is really going in one direction or the other. It's either opening or closing. You're either, in a kind of the most classical sense, liberal, opening to new ideas, tolerant, expanding, or you're closing. And the United States had a couple of, and it's very easy, by the way, there's a lot of inertia and momentum in this. It's very easy to kind of get in the wrong direction. And we had a couple of nudges in the direction of closed with 9/11 and then with the Snowden revelations, which moved a different group of people toward closed. But both of those things have pushed, the Snowden revelations suddenly got everybody worried about privacy. And 9/11 got us worried about terrorists. And so what's happened is once you get nudged in the direction of shutting down, eliminating the other, I don't want to hear challenging ideas, I don't want to be exposed to the other, I want to be in my cocoon, you move into basically a gated community. That's the move towards shutting out the other, getting kind of a homogeneity of experience. Apps are the ultimate gated community. They're the opposite of a free and open internet. They're the controlled community where you don't have to be challenged. And the problem is that it's a vicious circle, that the more closed you get, the more you move in that direction. And so I really fear that that's one of the threats that is a really kind of a significant, deep sociological threat, is that we're moving toward the gated community. Apps started that.
Absolutely right.
And that's not what you want. You want a wide open internet. And yeah, you know what? Things are going to happen on the internet. And
what subsidizes, Leo, what subsidizes that open web? Advertising. Part of the problem with the ad block discussion is that advertising has been completely demonized, and the ad industry didn't help because they irritated the hell out of everybody who could ever be a customer.
Now, the irony
messed it up.
The irony is that you want the closed mind with advertising, and you want the open mind with the editorial. For example, you don't even want to consider the panty liners, Right? The mind is closed on that
I'm closed
product
on that.
category.
I'm not going to be using those.
But what we do want is to return to a
Wait
certain
till you have
extent.
prostate surgery.
What we do want is to
Whoa,
return
too
to
much
the
information.
to the newspaper model, where the newspaper was always throwing articles that you didn't know you wanted to read. And one of the problems with algorithmically sorted content is it just tells you what you already want to know. And in fact, people are inclined in that direction anyway. People read the news because they want their existing opinions validated more than challenged. And so we need that combination. Closed mind on the advertising, in other words, high quality advertising, open mind on the editorial, which is high quality editorial.
Yeah. Well, and the risk with Facebook is that walled garden, you know, it's a little like Apple. It's a beautiful garden, the flowers are really nice, and you can hardly see the walls, and no one comes up and tries to pickpocket you or whatever. But you don't know what the rules are of the garden. Only Facebook knows what is shown to you
Don't
when.
worry your
Facebook
pretty little
knows.
beard about that, Matthew. It's going to be nice.
It's great.
This is why I argue that we have to negotiate with Facebook for some small measure of user interest data so we can also serve people on our own. And no, they don't want to give that up because it's the pot of gold. But if we're really going to have discussions about Google and Facebook truly supporting news, it has to mean that, because it has to mean we have to build our relationship.
So what is the Washington Post getting for giving 100% of its content to Facebook?
I don't know that they didn't negotiate something special in terms of data.
Well, and it's Jeff Bezos, remember, that probably had a hand in that
He knows a lot
negotiation
about everybody anyway.
of Amazon. He bought the Washington Post.
Peter Kafka was on TNT today talking about this, and his basic view is that Jeff Bezos' directive for the Washington Post is, if it's digital, jump on it. We want to be all over it. In fact, Amazon.
And I don't care if we lose money at this point.
Exactly.
Right.
Because
And they
isn't
can
that
afford to
Bezos how
experiment.
Bezos built Amazon?
Sure.
Exactly.
And they
10
can
years of
afford to
losing
experiment.
money.
Yeah, they can afford to
My friend
experiment.
they can afford
Wolfgang
to.
Blau from The Guardian. Sorry, Matthew. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm done.
Matthew's too nice.
Sorry, you are too nice. My friend Wolfgang Blau from The Guardian, who's a brilliant editorial mind, has been arguing on Facebook lately that between the discount deal that Bezos has given Prime users for the Washington Post, which got me to subscribe,
Yeah, by
and
the way,
putting all their articles onto Facebook, he says that very, very soon Washington Post is going to be bigger in traffic and audience than the New York Times.
I think it will. It's getting close for
how
sure.
much does it cost if I'm a Prime member to get the Washington?
$49 a year.
Yeah, it's still too much.
Whereas I think the New York Times is like $600.
$400.
Yeah, but I buy
$450.
the Sunday Times, and then I get access to everything else.
I do too. Yeah.
And I do buy the Wall Street Journal because that makes us money.
Yeah.
So I can justify spending money to make money.
Yes.
You know what? I did an experiment, Leo. This is why I'm against the idea of micropayments. My journal subscription lapsed, so I said, let me see how it goes for 3 months, and I'll see if there's a story I want. I'll first see, did somebody else already write that story? 99 times out of 100, the same information is elsewhere. The one time when I might want that story, I mean, of course, I could cheat and go around, but that's the time. If micropayments existed, they'd get $1 from me, not $900. And so this idea of, well, people should just pay a little bit for their content and everything will be okay. Just $1 here, $1 there. Not going to work.
No, because nobody wants 18 different bills for $1 here, $1 there.
You know Zainab, I think you know her, Jeff.
Right.
Zainab Tufekci.
I disagree with her.
on
I disagree with
Medium.
her on this piece. She's brilliant.
She wrote a piece on Medium about how what she would like is for a whole bunch of media entities to get together and have a sort of Spotify where you could subscribe to one thing and then get articles from all kinds of different publications.
It's kind
which
of Google Contributor, isn't it?
Well, it is
How
a little bit,
well does that
although
work?
it's more organized than that. It's more similar to something called Blendle, which is based in the
Right,
Netherlands
right.
and has expanded to Germany and wants to expand to the U.S. And they sign up a bunch of publishers. You say, I want to pay, or publishers say people have to pay 3 cents for an article. So then you just pay for the things you want. I think that's a great model, and I think it would be great if we had one of those. But
I don't
like
think it's
Jeff,
going to work.
I don't think enough people will pay. It might be a little
So
bit of
Blendle
extra,
said. So Alexander Klupping, who's the founder of Blendle, said that 100,000 people in his nation of 16 million had topped up their Blendle accounts within a year. That's the one metric you got. So, okay, that's nice to say that. But how much money have you paid out to publishers, and what's the average payout per reader?
He won't say.
He won't reveal.
And I do know that, well, I think I know from speaking to people at these companies, the New York Times is experimenting with it. Wall Street Journal's experimented with it. These are, they're testing the water because it makes sense to do that. but I don't think it's ever going to be, that model is ever going to be a big enough contributor to say do without advertising.
Well, again, I think it'll hurt the Journal. I think the Journal, the New York Times, and the Financial Times are very high-priced subscriptions. And if I could get the occasional article that I uniquely want there for a fraction of the price, most people would. I mean, I'll support the New York Times no matter what. But for the I don't subscribe to the FT, and the FT does have articles on one every once in a while, and I get stuck.
It's interesting if you look at the New York Times, they're effectively watering down their own paywall by giving access to people through other means. So you can get more articles through NYT Now, the app. You can get articles through Facebook, instant articles. They're cannibalizing their own paywall.
Yep.
All right. Well, I just paid the $10 a month. That's the max. You don't have to pay that much in contributor, but that's the max you can pay. Are we just to get this straight? Are we arguing for or against ad blockers here? Who's for ad blockers?
I'm in favor of them.
I use them.
I don't actually use them.
But you're in favor of them.
Well, I'm in favor of people using them because I'm in favor of publishers and advertisers getting the message.
Right.
And the message is you have to try harder.
Yeah.
Yep.
I am against them, but I use them. Yeah. Just to balance you, Matthew. And who's against ad blockers? Jeff Jarvis.
Even though I know that's hypocritical, because I've had, back in the days, kids, we had these things called VCRs, and it was wonderful when you learned how to skip commercials.
I skipped commercials on my DVR. Same thing, right?
Sure. And I think it's a little disingenuous.
You don't?
For publishers to say, you have to, in order to support us, you have to submit to any kind of terrible advertising that we think is, that we've convinced ourselves is worthwhile. That's not a deal anyone would agree to.
Yeah, and that's kind of the main reason that I'm finally saying, you know what, given all of the hazards of the current ad model, it's not unreasonable for somebody to use an ad blocker. Yeah, you just can't blame them for doing that at all.
So that's what we have to fix if we have time.
I really didn't want to get into this conversation, but it really is. It's a great discussion for a variety of reasons. So what the heck? But one more thought. Here's my actual fear as I think about this is not that good sites are going to go away, but that we're going to get an escalating war, an arms race between ad blockers and ad tech. Yeah. And I think that's really, history tells us what's going to happen, because this isn't the first time ad blockers have become universal. Remember when pop-ups were so awful that every browser worth its salt blocked pop-ups, and they all do still. So what happened? Well, the ad tech just advanced. In fact, that's one of the reasons ad tech is so offensive now, is to get around pop-up blockers and things like that. And there's no reason to think that there's any technological
no, so that's why we need human standards to say, sorry, you can't advertise, just as you do, Leo. You can't advertise here if you're going to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And that hurts when we're losing money.
We need publishers to do that. We do need publishers to do that.
Value. We do need that. And they don't gather together to create what Zainab asked for, I don't think. She's brilliant, but I disagree with her on this one. They don't gather together to create an antitrust. What they gather together for is standards of quality. And then at some point, the reasonable people would say, not unlike when Apple allowed you to buy music. Reasonably, I'll buy music now.
Well, in the IAB, their tech lab said that they were considering suing ad blocking software companies. Like, that's a great strategy.
Oh, that'll fix it.
Ringer's been doing it as well.
That's the record industry model.
Right, exactly. Have they not been paying attention? I mean, this is not a great strategy.
I should mention I was at the IAB upfronts last week, and some people thought that was an endorsement of the IAB. We are not members of the IAB, the
IAB is a good organization.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I didn't want to join an organization where things like that might happen. So
if you.
Well, and let's face it, some members of the IAB, ad tech is their business.
Right. Lots of them.
Yeah.
And some
if you look up Ad Age, Randall Rothensberg's piece, the unnecessary internet apocalypse. And I don't think he goes far enough, but he says that, where is it here? The rapid race for first-party data has to slow down. ads should only load when they're about to be viewable, not before. Advertisers and agencies should voluntarily abandon the worst forms of digital disruption. Amen. Publishers should take control of their site experiences. Those are his 4 rules.
It doesn't matter at this point. Too late.
Right.
Well,
ad blockers are here to stay.
Okay.
Ben Thompson said the same thing.
Ad
Ben
blockers
Thompson
are here to
said,
stay.
It's too late. Effectively, this debate is moot.
It's over. They should have done that 2 years ago. Because you know what? Everybody's using ad blockers. Period.
Well, we're...
Not to mention, advertisers are going to social platforms like Facebook. Publishers with their own websites will be left to soak up whatever dregs they can.
Well, not only if that's the business we put ourselves in, and then we end up doing, then the world is BuzzFeed and cats. Yes. I'm not ready to give up, gentlemen. I am not ready to give up on quality media.
I think that there's room for quality. Yeah, there's room for quality media. They're going to be. The problem is they won't be large enterprises. They'll be individual small enterprises that can do first-party ads. They can figure out a way, like I have, to do advertising in a respectful way to your audience.
I think the New York Times and Condé Nast and places like that can figure this out.
Yeah. I wonder how, though,
And
with
look
that
at
ad
courts.
blocker and
Zach Seward at courts. Zach Seward at courts bragged properly. The courts has no networks, no IAB units. All they have is very well labeled native and other kinds of advertising they sell specially. And, they're not so much in this mess.
Right. So the risk is, when I started talking about the same thing, the risk is smaller outlets, like say the All, for example, they don't have the resources to create really good native advertising. They don't have the resources to do deals with Facebook and other platforms. So they're going to get the argument is they're going to disappear. In fact, they'll be in the Facebook deals. That Facebook's going to open up for those kind of guys. Yeah. Oh yeah. Facebook said it that they're expanding. What they have now is just the beginning. They've already started expanding it. They'll expand to bigger guys, smaller guys. But that's a case where you have a quality network. The All and name 5 other great blogs could join together to take their quality audience, their hip quality audience, and create stuff from a place like Narratively or Contently. And no, I think that's possible that you could do that. You're right. The All on its own can't. But because advertisers are still stupid, they still want mass. The problem with all of this is that advertisers are dumb and slow, and nobody wants to argue with them because they have the money.
By the way, as Dallas points out in our chat room, Wikipedia still doesn't have ads and survives, and there are places on the web that preserve the ethos of the web from the... They got to beg for it. They got to. I give them money every month. Yeah, I'm glad to give them money.
There aren't enough people like you, Leo, giving them money. I think it gets harder and harder with that model.
I guess so.
Over time, people become entitled.
It is the shining example of what the internet.
Someone else in the chat room made a good point, which is that a lot of what is out there, content-wise, is, there are 1,000 websites writing fundamentally the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. The same thing.
Yes.
And so why would anybody even consent to view ads to read that? There's no, you would have to pay people to read that. So what business model is
because the business model is still a volume-based. You're absolutely right, Matthew.
Eyeballs, exactly
spot on. And it's also terribly inefficient because we all write the same stories. We do it to get our own page view, to get our own ad, because we're in a volume-based business, not a value-based business. And that's what we have to change at the fundamental level. Leo Laporte is not in the volume-based business. Leo said he doesn't want an audience more than 250,000 for a given show.
Well, I wouldn't.
Right, but the problem is you go to an advertiser.
No, I never. Did I say that?
Yeah.
The problem is you go to an advertiser and you say, "Wow, I've got these 1,100 really quality readers," and they say that's super great, but we're going to go with this other site that has 75 million unique visitors.
It's also it's too hard for them to buy onesie twosies like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, no agency wants to deal with that. In fact, that's the problem we face. We're not big enough to get a lot of agency buys because it's not worth it for the agency.
Right.
Their commission is not big enough to buy ads from Twit.
And in fact, you could argue, and I have argued, that ad buyers are the problem.
I agree.
Not necessarily advertisers. Yeah. Because ad buyers just want to, they want to check a box so that then they can make a report to the brand. Got this number.
Yep. And speaking of moral hazard, the more they sell, the bigger commission they make.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, take a break. We got to talk about other things as well, including the right
That's
to
the thing
be.
you didn't want to talk about.
I really didn't.
No, we
but
you want to
it's a great subject, and I think it's an important subject.
Yeah.
I think the war is over. I think ad blockers are here to stay. I'm very interested in what will happen next.
Every story, including the one you just about teased there, is all about the future of the internet. These are big, big questions.
Yeah. What's going to happen?
Whether ads exist or not, whether content exists or not, and this right to be forgotten thing, this is a big one.
Oh, I'm worried about this. We'll talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure Jeff will turn a little pinker.
Oh, Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. Hey, don't skip this ad. This is an ad that could keep your home safe, your family safe. It's something fun and easy and simple. If you're a geek, you're going to love it. Ring, the Ring video doorbell at ring.com/twig. So I have one, and I love it. In fact, I should fire it up so here's the deal. This is a doorbell that replaces the button on the front door. If you have a wired doorbell, it's easy to remove the old one. I removed 2 screws, popped it off with a screwdriver. There's 2 wires coming out of a hole. They give you everything in the Ring box, by the way, to do all of this, including configure and start up the Ring doorbell. Once you do it, there's the screwdriver, you got the level, you got the drill bit, everything you need.
They give you everything. They give you a whole tool set, basically.
It's kind of amazing. I know I kept the screwdriver and all that because it's useful, and the little bitty level. By the way, you don't have to have wires. You can glue this anywhere. I was thinking put it on our bedroom door because it's battery as well. So and a lithium-ion battery lasts yeah, you see what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about here? Lasts a year.
Yeah.
Hey, who's out there? The thing is, it not only rings your chimes in your house, but it rings every device you install the Ring software on. And I put it on everything because I can never hear the doorbell ring. So now when somebody rings our doorbell, I know because I hear it everywhere.
It's the chimes, right?
On my laptop, on my iPhone, on my Android phone, on my tablets. And you dong, dong, dong. It's very pleasant. You can then fire up the app. This is what's so interesting. And you can see who's at the door. There it is. And you can see who's at the door. And you could talk to them. The other day, a neighbor came by. Let me see if I can find that one. He came by, Bob, the neighbor. He wanted to chop down our trees. It was a good thing that I actually I answered the door. I was at work. Where is that camera? Holy cow. That's right here. Okay. Yeah, there he is. There's Bob. Bob, our neighbor.
Look at the wide field of view.
Yeah, that's good because you can see everybody who's there. And so I pressed the accept button and I talked to Bob. There he is. Oh, see, he's bringing wine. This is his second visit. So I said, hey, Bob. He said, I want to come by and chop down your trees. You mind? I said, Bob, I'm at work. Can I call you later? But you can. So that was an actual call that I took while I was at work. In fact, some of you saw me do that. It was right before the radio show. So those are the missed calls or the answered calls. But you can also get a call from just motion out front. You can see if people are coming and going in front of your door. So it's kind of like a security camera. And as you say, it's very wide. Yeah. So I can see what's going on. That's actually our son leaving with his grandparents. So I know exactly when that happened. When my daughter comes in at 2 in the morning, I know. He left at 10:52 this morning.
Can I give you another use case, Leo?
Yeah.
When somebody sends by FedEx or UPS and they demand a signature, I want to be able to answer this with my mug on the screen and say to the guy, really, I live here, leave the box. I give you authorization. Leave the box.
Leave the box. Sometimes that works. Can't promise. But I tell you what, it certainly scares a burglar away. Yep. Did you know 95% of home robberies occur during the day? Burglar rings the doorbell before you to see if you're home before he goes around back to break in. Even if you're at work and you can answer the doorbell and say, hey, yeah, I'm giving the kids a bath. Can I just leave it? And then they run off. So it's for safety. It's for security. It's for monitoring. You said there's some the kids coming to visit. I just love this. Yeah. I just love this. They can hear you. You can hear them. You can see them. It's about $200, although we're going to give you $10 off if you go to ring.com/twig. And notice you can have multiple doorbells on a single app. Yeah. So I can add another doorbell, like my bedroom doorbell. That's the next one. Put that right on the door there. What is it? Taking a bath right now. Ring.com/twig. It's easy to install. I am not Mr. Handyman by any means. I found it was simple And even if you don't have wiring, you can use it, which is great.
And you know what's really cool about this? Before you close
Do you
out
have
this,
one?
I do. I love it. I use
Isn't
it
it awesome?
30 times. I mean, I just love it. I have. They used to call it total information awareness in the Pentagon. It's so great to know what's going on. And one of the things that's really cool is it's mounted on there really solidly.
Right.
But if somebody somehow comes with a crowbar and pries it off your front, your wall, they'll replace it for free.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yes. So it's out there, and it's this, obviously valuable piece of gadgetry. It's not going to happen. I think it's very unlikely. But if they do,
because you'll have video of them if they do it.
Exactly. That's right up in the cloud, so they don't steal that. But they'll replace it for free.
Yeah.
That's Stacey Higginbotham was showing me hers, and she said, "I will show you how this works, but I can't remember my password."
Oh. No, you do need a password to log in. And by the way, it's mounted on the door with a proprietary screw. You get a proprietary bit, which deters somebody who wants to subtly steal it. But I love it that they'll replace it for free. That's neat.
Yeah.
Ring.com/twig. Well, obviously, there's no reason not to get this immediately.
Yep.
French data regulator says, if you delist somebody, if we agree and say you just delist somebody in France, Google, you have to delete it not just on google.fr, you have to delete it everywhere.
Can't be appealed, and if Google does the right thing and doesn't go along, what is it? I think it's 2 to 5% of Google's revenue could be
globally.
Right.
Globally.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I've been screaming about. What's wrong with this decision?
Yeah.
And if France can do it, so can China, and so can Putin, and stay away from our internet, people.
Well, this bothers me profoundly on multiple levels, but one of them, and they're not admitting to this. They literally say that contrary. This is a quote from the CNIL, which is the organization that rejected their appeal. Said, quote, contrary to what Google has stated, this decision does not show any willingness on the part of the CNIL to apply French law extraterritorially.
No, we are not saying your law should be everywhere in the world. No, that's okay. We're not saying that.
It's our French law.
And that statement is a bald-faced lie. We are sitting here in Petaluma, California, covered in the United States, protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. Down the highway, an hour and 20 minutes away, is Google's headquarters. They have a search index, in case you haven't heard about this, where they index the internet, and whatever's on the internet, if it's legal content, they try to index it so you can search for those things and find those items. And what this ruling does is it reaches across the Atlantic, right past the Constitution, and censors internet in the United States for Americans. This is like outrageous, and I think Google needs to leave Europe. This is and just Europeans will just go to google.com, and what are they going to do? Block Google?
Yes.
I don't think they will. I don't think they will block.
What do they
Google.
do, Jeff? I mean, they can't
say bull pucky en français. Yeah, I mean it's just.
Can they not do it? Can they just ignore it?
No. Well, they'll be. Then they can. From what I understand,
I'm going to sue France for damaging my Google search.
Yeah,
there is no appeal.
Damage is exactly what it is. They're requiring by law. This is the right to be forgotten in general, even in Europe. The law says you must have a more inaccurate search engine because of privacy. And yes, privacy is important. But what bugs me is this idea that the internet and content on the internet is something that can be meddled with. It can be censored. You can do the equivalent of book burning as long as it's an American company doing something digitally. If they think that this content is so privacy evading, then go in there with a bunch of jackbooted thugs into The Guardian and shut them down. Censor the content itself if this is censorable content. But if it's legal content, then the search engines should point to it.
It's speech. It is pure and simple. It is speech. We believe in free speech in this country. And unfortunately, others don't hold that same sacred right as we do. But now they are indeed. It's exactly what I said was always going to happen. Is that European standards were going to affect us in the U.S. and the rest of the world, and then you're going to end up with the lowest common denominator because now you know damn well that Pooty Poot is asking for the same thing.
Yeah, the denominator is going to get way lower here. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, exactly.
And this is
culture. The only thing I can see happening now, and Google, God bless them, has not done a great job of dealing with this. They ignored it for a while. It came on them as a surprise. I think I said on the show I was at a Google privacy event to speak in Mountain View when this decision was handed down, and they were all gobsmacked. They didn't see it coming. And Europeans say, you should have. Hello. And the only thing I can know is that Google has to put forward, Google and others in the rest of Silicon Valley and our government have to put forward a full frontal assault on the stupidity of this, including PR, but also I think at some level I wonder what the right is to go to the Human Rights Court and go to the EU as a whole, because the EU will come down in some cases on such stupidity. The problem with this, of course, is, right to be forgotten, is an EU court decision with no right of appeal. And so it is royally effed up. But Google has to find a way to fight this, and I don't know legally what the options are. As Matthew says, it is unappealable at that level. Once they're fined, then they can go fight that, but then they've already been found basically guilty of something. They've already been fined, and they've got a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. I don't know. Is there any way that we can start a popular movement to tell France to go F off? I don't know.
The only thing I could see is the EU might decide, yes, they have made decisions about the right to be forgotten, but they might be open to an appeal on the basis that France is trying to effectively apply its laws extraterritorially, which is a no-no. So, I mean, that might be an avenue of appeal. I don't know if the EU would listen, but
I mean, look, don't we want privacy? Isn't this what we've been fighting for? This kind of, I think this is absolutely right. We want privacy. We've been saying this all along. We don't want these companies to store information about us. I think this is completely legitimate.
You know,
they're doing the right thing.
We like privacy. Privacy is a core value in the West.
So does
Europe,
France. In fact, Europe protects their people better than the United States does.
But that's a European value, and if European values are going to be instituted not in the publications that exist in Europe, but in the search engines that exist in Mountain View, then the Saudi Arabian values have to be applied globally. The Chinese values. No more mentioning or photographing the Dalai Lama. No women's hair can be exposed on Google because Saudi Arabia doesn't like it. If Saudi Arabia executes a blogger, they don't really want to have problems with their relationship with the United States, their big oil customer, and they want to censor that. That's a Saudi Arabian value, and that has to be implemented into Google. You can't mention that anything about that blogger being executed, because Saudi Arabia's values insist that be a global. It's ridiculous. And by the way, this for Europe, this is cultural bigotry to think they actually expect Google to say, okay, European values are good, everybody else's values are bad.
Well, but to play Leo's devil's advocate role here, which Leo does very well, they would argue that we have forced our values on the world.
Right.
And
in fact, we do argue that.
Right.
Yes.
You Americans, you don't mind if you put your private stuff in public, but we do not wish this, and we wish the right to be forgotten.
It's exactly.
Well, we would like to forget you, France. Please let us.
Can Google stop doing business in countries like China? They did this in China.
Oh.
Yeah, there is a simple solution. All Google has to do is serve people in France Google.fr and remove whatever.
No, I think for legal reasons they'd have to block France. Because you can't be doing business in France, otherwise you're prone to this.
But see, they wouldn't block France. See, they don't actually think they're censoring, even though they are literally censoring.
Well, that's why Google says if we get a query from a French block of IP addresses, we say, I'm sorry, you'll have to use whatever the crappy piece of software you guys have.
But back to this institute imposing American values on Europe. No, this content that is being the links to which is being blocked are legal articles. By French law. The French publications, for example, those are it's in French, and these are French journalists expressing the French value of freedom of speech in printing these articles. And then, so it's not like we're imposing pedophilia on them.
No, I understand, but they have a court. They have a system. The court has decided. Respect their court. We respect the Supreme Court, right? We'd expect. I mean, just move out.
Exactly. They have to leave Europe. This is just.
I think you have to. I don't. What else are you going to do? They're not going to do that.
It's a precedent. Yeah. I think they might actually.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great just to say, hey, sorry, you're coming in from France. We don't. I mean, we certainly know how to do geographic restrictions. By the way, there'd be a brisk business in VPNs.
Yes.
In France, all of a sudden,
and that's how it should work. That's how it should work.
Wow. Wow is all I can say. And by yes, of course, I was being a devil's advocate. Thank you for noticing, Jeff.
I know.
But I do. But there was a kernel of truth in that, because I really worry, and I know you agree with me on this, Jeff, that we are so concerned about, and I feel like this is kind of in reaction, a knee-jerk reaction to Snowden, so concerned about our privacy that we will in fact start shutting down valuable, technological advances. Things like you and I love the Amazon Echo, Mike.
Yeah.
But people are so, but it's listening in your house. And I could easily see stuff like that not being developed, not happening, because people are so concerned about privacy. So there is a kernel of truth in that when I said that, because I do think that many people point to the EU as an exemplar in privacy regulation. Ilse
Aigner, former head of consumer protection in Germany, some different title. I've said this on the show before, when 4 years ago said that the use of geotechnology and facial recognition together was henceforth and forever verboten. Taboo was the word she used. And as I've always said, it could find missing children and Alzheimer's patients and all kinds of other things. When you regulate a technology because you fear what the technology could do, when you regulate speech because what you fear the speech could do, you're basically insulting the public, the future. You're cutting off possibility.
But we live in a place with the country of the First Amendment. There are very few countries that have free speech in that regard, in the way we have.
That's absolutist, right? Exactly.
Did not Google, as Al Khalif has pointed out in our chat room, open the door to this by voluntarily censoring search results on things like torrents? And
they were forced to.
Well, it wasn't voluntary.
But again,
Google has a perfect right to decide itself what to do. I mean, Google can decide not to put child porn up, and Google decides that, and that's Google's fine right.
Okay,
Facebook can decide to put no nipples up.
Yeah,
but
that's
this is
the distinction.
I don't agree with that, but they do it.
Right.
But there's a huge distinction to be made between linking to illegal content, whether it's swastikas in Germany, whether it's child porn just about anywhere, whatever, and legal content. And yes, the problem is that it's really easy to find content on the internet. That is a problem. It's a problem that sometimes people can be stigmatized by things that happened it's no longer fair for them to be stigmatized for those things. That's what this is all about. One example is there was a guy who was, when he was young, he was a hippie, he had a beard, long hair, and he was playing this goofy Australian instrument in a public park, and the local newspaper took a picture of him and put it up online. This is like 15 years ago. Now it's in their archive. Now he's a financial consultant. He's got a suit and tie, 3-piece suit, and he wants to be respectable. And he felt that the hippie picture was ostracized, was stigmatizing, and he asked that it be removed, and under the law of the right to be forgotten, it was removed. It's unfortunate that content like that is easy to find and it's stigmatizing. However, the article, well, in this case, this is a bad example because, in fact, the newspaper voluntarily removed the article itself, but normally that's not the case. And but the problem is that's reality. That's an unfortunate reality that sort of thing happens. It's the right to be forgotten is equivalent to being you can't burn books unless they're bestsellers, in which case they're everywhere, and therefore it's okay to burn bestsellers. You just can't burn obscure books. Like, nobody would pass a law like that, but that's exactly what the right to be forgotten is. The Europeans do not take the internet seriously as a protected medium of content. And that's why they don't mind burning the internet. They would never burn the books.
I had the same argument when I was a TV critic, when there was efforts, the V chip put in VCRs so that television content could be censored. We never would have allowed that with books because we respect books. We didn't respect television. You're right. The internet is not respected at all. It's demonized, and they've got to see that the internet is speech. And, folks, if we're not going to fight, who the hell is going to fight? How does somebody, does Boing Boing or EFF get people together to go march on the Elysee Palace? I don't know what we do, but if we don't fight, nobody's going to fight, and it's just going to happen to us.
It's really simple. The good news.
Google's the only one to fight.
The good news is France is a small country, probably not a huge amount of money. This is like Neville Chamberlain and the Nazis. Godwin's Law, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to point that out. We have now fulfilled Godwin's Law. You cannot appease the French. This is the time to send a signal to the EU and to every other country that would do this. You can afford to do it in France, right? Maybe you couldn't afford to do it in China, but you can afford to do it in France. Cut them off now. Send a signal. You don't like what we do, we will cut you off, and then see how many times that happens in the future.
I think the French would love it for Google to leave
so
France because you know there is a smattering of French search engines, and they would love to give them a chance. Heck, bring back the Minitel. I bet they'd love to bring back the Minitel.
I think one aspect of this is a sort of European cultural resistance to giant U.S. corporations. I mean,
colonialism, I think they call it.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
When I was in Italy talking to people about Google and about Facebook, one of the big sort of sources of resistance is just these are giant U.S. companies coming over here, and they own the internet, and they tell us what to do, and they take all our advertising and all our news, and all our industries are going under. And so a lot of it is just anti-Googleism.
But I'm sorry to interrupt, Matthew. I'm so sorry, but it's like this is the irony that they don't understand. The reason that these companies are all American is because the American government didn't preemptively ban things. And didn't do insane things like the right to be forgotten. If that were the case, and if Europe had more of a Wild West type of situation, we'd be complaining about the French search engine with its dominant cultural values being imposed on us.
I happen to like the French culture. I look forward to going back to France next year, as I do as many years as I can. I love the people, the food. Maybe not so happy about the CNIL, but yeah. But nevertheless, I think this is the way you handle it. And you don't. What you got to do is you've got to act, and you've got to act briskly to forestall.
What would the stock market do? But Leo, one more point.
Oh, who cares?
Google said
the stock market doesn't. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm stupid. Does your stock price really impact how you run the company? It's not your money anymore. You already got your big chunk of change from the IPO. Who cares what your stock price is?
The market will say, uh-oh, if France did this, where else is going to say, good, let's get rid of Google. Now we know how.
No, but nobody wants to get rid of Google. Okay.
The old institutions in all these countries do.
But the people don't, and the people will win. Imagine, I mean, look, you don't want to screw with the French people. Back to the barricades, baby.
They'll cut your head off.
They'll cut your head off.
They'll also burn down McDonald's.
They'll burn down McDonald's.
But it is a good point. 92%, north of 92% of the search engine using public in France is loving Google. That's way higher than the U.S.
Yes.
They're way more popular in France than
so
in
Google,
the US.
if Google puts up a big page that says, "Dommage, no Google for you today," you better believe you'd hear it, and that law, and it would be completely transformed.
Well, we saw it in Spain.
Especially
it happened in Spain with the publishers.
Especially if you put a photo of Isabelle Falk-Perrotin, who's in charge of this organization.
He'd be stoned.
You know, that French love McDonald's too. Do you know that? They really do.
I was when we were in Budapest, several times guides pointed out the first McDonald's in the Eastern Bloc. There it is. There were lines around the block for months. People were dying to get their hands on a Big Mac.
People get dressed up to go wait in line.
It would be, one of our guides told us that. He said, you want the best date. You want to get a girl to love you in those days. This was probably I don't know when it was, 80s, 70s. It was, of course, still a part of the Warsaw Pact. It was still a communist bloc country. You would take her to McDonald's, man. She would flip her lid.
Those fries. So, and when they opened in Moscow, the McDonald's, I've read stories about this, McDonald's biggest challenge was trying to get, this is during the Soviet Union, trying to get the Russian cashiers and so on to smile and to be friendly, because it's so counter to the Soviet culture.
Hey, what do you want? Get in here.
Exactly.
I give you meat and
no
bread.
Soup for you.
Meat and pie.
Big Mac
No
for
soup.
You.
I give you roasted potato. What do you think? You liked it? It's good. That's funny. Really, they couldn't, like, they culturally wouldn't smile.
They just couldn't bring themselves to do it.
No, there's nothing to be happy about. Have you not seen what's going on out there? It's terrible. World sucks. Would you like fries with it? Ahmed Mohammed is at Google right now.
Oh, he's literally right now.
He's there right now. Is it okay? I'm all for this kid, and he's a maker. I understand he didn't invent the clock. He didn't make it bit by bit. He took apart a clock he got at Radio Shack. That's fine. This is a maker. That's how you start.
Yeah.
I think what the school did to him was reprehensible. I think there's probably very good evidence it was racist anti-Muslim,
Yep.
Muslim.
You and I got some email about this, though, didn't we?
No, I know, because there's now a backlash. But maybe we are going a little too far honoring this kid. He's just received like every kind of Microsoft product known to man.
American celebrity.
He's been offered, yeah, it is. He's been offered a trip to the White House. I think he's going. He's been offered a job at Facebook, an internship, and now he's at the Google Science Fair hanging out with no lesser a light than Sergey Brin.
Yeah.
All you got to do is take apart a clock, and man,
everybody feels super guilty about how badly Muslims are treated in the U.S. Especially,
Wow.
Especially in places like Irving, Texas.
You nailed it, though. I mean, of course, what happened to the kid was terrible and everything, but this is celebrity in the U.S., and then inevitably it goes completely the opposite direction.
Yeah.
We're gonna see the stories. Set the clock now. In 2 years, we're gonna see the story. Poor Ahmed was at the center of the universe, and then everybody dumped him, and he wondered what the heck happened.
You know what? That's a good point.
He had to go back to geometry class.
He thinks his life is made. This could be the worst thing that ever happened.
Right.
Right?
He's going to wake up
So
in
when
a
I was
gutter
at the Examiner in San Francisco, when Skylab fell, remember that, old folks?
Yeah.
Yep.
We offered, and I had called NASA, and they said, this is never going to fall over land. Don't worry about it. No money involved. We offered $10,000 as a prize to whoever brought a piece of Skylab to our office.
Wow.
And a year, because we found out that the Chronicle was going to offer insurance to Chronicle subscribers if they got injured by Skylab falls. So we said that was awfully negative, so we'll offer money for Skylab. And it was good old-time newspaper war. And so this kid named Stan Thornton from Esperance, Western Australia, a beer truck assistant, by God, with the help of an Australian radio station, came to San Francisco with pieces of Skylab. And I remember, so Stan was 17 years old.
He wanted money.
Him sitting there. Well, the managing editor basically adopted him for 3 weeks because we couldn't let him be on his own. So he.
Oh, we'll never know what happened.
Yep.
He was it when all the fame left.
Wait a minute. You froze. Finish that. The last sentence again, please.
So you adopted him.
He adopted him, and then he couldn't stand when the fame left. He didn't know what to do. He was well, what, you don't love me anymore? It was kind of sad.
What is the movie where the guy, he's a poor drunken sot now. He was the quiz kid who won all that money.
That was Magnolia.
Magnolia.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He was Donnie Quiz Kid.
Barnes or whatever. Yeah.
What was his name? That was hilarious.
By the way,
William H. Macy.
William H. Macy, great, one of the best movies ever made.
And he was trying to get braces because he was in love with the bartender who had braces.
Right. Oh my God, what a great movie! That's right up there with Pulp Fiction, Magnolia. Wow.
Oh yeah,
I never saw that.
Brilliant.
You what?
Oh, you got to watch it.
On the plane on the way back. I'll be watching it.
Actually, one of Tom Cruise's finest roles.
You know what? That turned me around on Tom Cruise.
He does an amazing job.
I thought, my God, he can act.
Yeah. Only there, though.
He's reprised that role several times, including in Rock of Ages. He's very good at that kind of crazed. Paul Thomas Anderson, who is one of our great directors, and this is a must-see movie.
He's giving an interview to that woman, and he just stops.
He just stares at her.
What are you doing? And he says, "I'm silently judging you."
Let's take a break. You can all watch the movie later. Don't watch it now. Just put it on your wish list.
It's a wonderfully weird show this week.
It's fun. You know why? It's the perfect recipe. I've really realized this with shows, and we spend a lot of time thinking about who should be on the show.
Three Americans and a Canadian. Is that the recipe?
No, it's
yeast and lemon.
It's personalities. You get the right personalities together, and something magic happens. And I just really don't know how that happens, right? Our show today brought to you by Lynda.com. Anyway, I'm thrilled to have you all. Matthew Ingram from Fortune.com. Are you back from the lake?
I am, unfortunately.
Oh, man, those pictures all summer long. Man. Follow him on Instagram if it was like, speaking of movies, it was like the loons, Norman, the loons.
He went straight from the canals of Venice to this.
That's right. The kayak photos are over for this year.
No more kayak photos? Damn.
Not until next summer.
Damn. What was that? On Golden Pond.
Yeah. Actually, I ran into a guy in London, and he said, I like you and your writing and everything, but you know what I really like? I like your photos of like canoes and kayaks and stuff. It says, I told my son that everybody in Canada has a cabin up in the woods and they all go kayaking and canoeing.
So nice. Jeff Jarvis, who is in Los Angeles for ONA, the Online News Association. Are you speaking tonight? When are you speaking?
I'm not speaking.
You're just standing there?
I'm interrupting.
You're going to pull a Google? Talk to the hand? That's what Google needs, a big hand.
Yeah.
Talk to the hand. And Mike Elgin, who's here all the time, but it's so good to have him sitting here talking about Google. There's nobody more fun to talk about Google than Mike.
I love this show.
Yeah, I love this show too. This is my favorite show. I end my week with this show, and I love doing that. Someday we'll talk about Mike's project. He's making Camembert.
Yes. And Brie.
That's on your Instagram, right?
Yeah, I think my wife is posting on Instagram.
Yeah.
And
you know what I want you to make? I want you to make a pawpaw pie. We discussed that last week.
We love pawpaws, and I found out, somebody emailed me that Luther Burbank Gardens up here in Santa Rosa has two, not one, but two. You need two pawpaw trees. They cross-pollinate like avocados, so you have to have a male and a female.
Oh, sounds very sordid.
But there's the pawpaw tree, I could go pluck a pawpaw just minutes away. I might do that. Mike is not only are you making tell us the story, because you're making this. You're not just making cheese. You're making cheese.
Okay, so we try to do things from scratch, my wife and I, and we keep stepping. We keep pulling the thread out of the sweater. So we got into 1.5 gallons of milk every day. So my wife milks
a cow next door.
Yeah, a cow next door, and so it's too much milk for the family that owns a cow. So we alternate every other day. So my wife.
So Amira milks it.
She milks it.
Oh my God!
Yeah, she milks the cow. She goes out and leads the cow from its fantastic pasture into the milking barn, and with this
Does she have a machine, or does she do it by hand?
There's a machine.
Oh,
you attach a thing, and it takes like 20 minutes or something like that. So, and then 1.5 gallons every other day, and then every other day I launch into. So we got a cheese cave. It's a wine fridge. She's been
making butter. She's been
but wait, there's more. In addition, so I'm making Camembert and Brie and some other things. I'm going to make some blue cheese. I started cultivating my own mold for blue cheese.
Yes, I've been watching that with interest.
But now
it's right there on the TNT desk, I believe.
I used to do a lot of that in my kitchen.
It's in the company refrigerator. Yeah,
not deliberately.
So the latest one is that rennet can be made from a variety of things, but traditionally it's made from one of the stomachs of a ruminant of some kind. So we acquired a ruminant, a sheep, and we had it slaughtered. And this happened a couple days.
They're going to eat the whole thing. They didn't just do it for the guts.
So you didn't slaughter it? You didn't slaughter it?
I didn't slaughter it personally.
No, but there's a truck that this is Petaluma. We're in a farm community.
Yeah.
There's a truck that goes around, says, sheep, anybody got sheep, we'll slaughter it for you.
House calls.
They make house calls.
You don't slaughter it yourself.
What was funny?
It's a slaughter truck.
What's funny is
you're not as much of a man as Mark Zuckerberg. He kills his food.
Yeah, I wonder if he still does that. But anyway, so what was funny is my wife texted me, like it was outside, they came and it started to happen. She's like, come out here right away. You need to describe which of the stomachs you need. And so I went and told him.
Which of the stomachs?
Yeah, there are 4 stomachs.
Do you know which of the stomachs?
I was quickly flipping through there. Like
Google told you.
Wait a minute, say, hey Siri, which of the 4 stomachs makes rennet?
Of a ruminant.
Wait a minute. This is a good test. Okay, Google. Which of the 4 stomachs of a ruminant is needed in rennet? Probably says used for rennet, right? Oh, see, it got rentin.
Yeah.
But it did come up with what is a ruminant, and an article on the ruminant digestive system.
It's a very interesting topic. Anyway, so I go out there and I told him, and he carves it out and he just hands it to me. So I'm like with this stomach thing. I'm like,
what do you do with that?
Well, what you do?
You mince it.
What you do is you cover it in salt and you let it go because rennet is a series of enzymes. And you're cultivating and growing these enzymes. So you pack it in salt and you leave it sitting there for 6 months.
No, the enzymes are not.
They're inside.
They're not like living organisms. They're chemicals.
Right, exactly. And And they live in a community, but there's one of them that coagulates. I don't know if they live.
They don't live in a community.
They're like sea monkeys.
I would like to live in a community of enzymes.
They have a Facebook group.
Anyway, so 6 months. In 6 months, I'll have.
This stomach's on Twitter.
Now,
stomach's on Facebook.
Is a rennet kind of like a sourdough starter? You take a little bit and you keep it going.
No, it isn't.
It uses it up.
It uses it up. So there'll be further slaughter in the future. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I imagine it lasts a long time.
You don't need a lot of rennet.
No, just a tiny little bit.
How did somebody figure out that only a piece from a stomach, one of the specific stomachs,
well, they're French. What else they're going to do?
Used to make cheese.
I have a solid theory on this. Yeah, first of all, it's a myth that you need rennet to make cheese. Cheese will make itself if you use raw milk, and with nothing. Or if you add any acid,
it hastens it along.
For certain types of aged cheeses, you need rennet, but for like regular cheese. So the way they discovered this is that oftentimes when you slaughter one of these animals, there's actually cheese in there. Like if you like, it's
no, that's not cheese.
We talk no. In France, back to the French. In France, it's actually a very expensive, valued type of cheese that's sort of made by the. I mean, that's essentially.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we will not allow the French to export unpasteurized cheese to the United States.
I think we should.
Or their laws.
I disagree with the French on the right to be forgotten, but they really know how to do cheese, man.
Well, there's an example.
Cheese?
There's an example. We do not get the best French cheese in the United States because our laws prevent it. Is it the same in Canada? No, they must allow good French cheese.
No, it is. No, in fact, there's a quite a well-known farmer who was selling unpasteurized milk. And they basically shut him down.
Oh.
Well, and this is driven by the dairy industry because if you in order to do raw milk, it has to be a small. It's as if the Schlitz and Budweiser companies banned the making of microbrews. Because raw milk has to be done on a very small scale.
Right. Yeah, for obvious reasons.
And so it's a political thing, and people have bought it.
Let's talk about the Oleomargarine Act of 1952 or whatever it was.
Oh, did it prohibit it or did it promote it?
It actually required margarine could not be sold that looked like butter.
Oh, that's right.
At one point, I think it was in Wisconsin, if you went into a restaurant, they were not allowed to offer you margarine. You could have it if you requested it.
Right.
But they were not legally allowed to offer it.
It's like here in California, they can't offer you water at the restaurant anymore. It's illegal to say, would you like water? You can, if you ask for it, they'll give it to you. But the law prohibits them because we're in a drought. No, you know what? I don't remember. I remember my parents telling me during the war when you ate a lot of oleo, because butter was a precious commodity, it would be white, and you would get a coloring packet.
Yeah. Yeah,
you mush it together.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now we know that healthy thing called margarine is actually the worst thing you could possibly eat. It's just a chunk of trans fats.
He said they went across the border to buy like illegal margarine.
It is like hooch, smuggling it across.
Yeah.
All right. By the way,
cheese.
Thanks to the French Constitution, you have the right to forget the conversation you just heard. I urge you to use your rights. Our show, this all started as a Linda ad, but you see, the point being, we love to learn new stuff, right?
We do.
The human brain is made to learn, and if you stop learning, you stop living. You've got to expand, and there may be good reason for it for other reasons. You might make you a better employee. You might get a raise. You might be able to get a better job. Lynda.com is the place to go if you would like to make things happen, if you would like to learn for your work or for your hobby. Maybe you want to learn how to code, make an app. Maybe you want to get a website. You need to learn how to design it. Master Excel, sharpen your business skills. I'm a photo buff. I'm like crazy. And of course, I've taken some of the best courses on photography at lynda.com. First of all, you got Burt Monroy, the best Photoshop guru in the world, teaching there. In fact, all the teachers are great. Many of them are friends of mine. People like that guy right there, Ben Long, who's awesome. His course on learning to be a better photographer is one of the best ways to learn photography. He's just great. They've got Introduction to Photography, Getting Started with Photography. I love this one. There's the 5-Day Photo Challenge. This will help you improve your composition skills. There are new courses on color correction and making selective adjustments in Adobe Camera Raw. You know what? Master Curves. It's very, very good. The fundamental of Photoshop's the brand new one, Creative Cloud 2015. I could just tell you, the stuff at lynda.com is fantastic. 3,888 courses last time I checked in almost every subject: business, technology, creative skills, soft business skills too, like negotiating a raise or making a resume. I mean, some great stuff in there. Running a business.
I got to look
into
that negotiating a raise one.
Shut up.
That sounds great.
That's one that we block all our employees from seeing.
Dang it.
If only we could. Actually, a lot of businesses do have lynda.com accounts for their business, for their employees. It's a great way to keep your employees sharp. I want you to visit lynda.com and find out more. Here's what you're going to get: a free 10-day trial. Lynda, lynda.com/twig. 10 days free. That's enough to do a couple of courses beginning to end, or just to dip your toe into a bunch of them. Where are we going to put this astronaut? We're cutting him out of the moon and we're going to put him somewhere else. This is fun. If you want to find out, lynda.com/twig and get that free 10-day trial. That's the Content Aware Move, Scale, and Rotate section from Photoshop 2015. Where do you think he's going to put that?
It's so convincing, I'm starting to doubt the moon landing.
That'd be a good course, wouldn't it?
Yeah, how to fake your own moon landing.
They need a cheese course.
Yeah.
How to make cheese.
Yes.
Mike Elgin brings you cheese.
I think Mike could teach that course.
I learned a lot about cheese just in this show.
Oh, man. Mike got me. I've got so many utensils on my counter now.
Sorry.
For all kinds of things. You know what? Jenny Jardin got me into tortilla making. I now have a 25-pound bag of corn.
We make tortillas too. You know what we're doing is we're fermenting the tortillas now. So it's like
it's better.
It's better.
It's better.
Yeah.
You have to give me that trick.
Actually,
I got the press. I got the lime. I got the corn.
Why would you ferment them?
They just taste a little better.
Everything's better fermented.
Yeah. So you know, the theory is that in the old days where tortillas, were cultivated in the Mayan era and so on. Of course, they didn't have refrigerators, and they didn't have good storage, but they probably fermented it.
There's a fine line between going bad and tasting good.
But the great thing about fermented foods is you can always tell when it's gone bad. That's the great thing. If it's delicious, it's good for you.
Unless you're in Iceland and you have shark.
Right.
Fermented shark.
Never do that.
What? Really?
Never eat that.
Don't eat fermented shark?
No.
Why?
Have you tried, Matthew?
Yeah, it's the worst. Actually, there's another. I don't want to offend the Icelandic community, but that is one of the worst meals ever.
Well,
and the only thing close to it is called lutefisk.
Oh, I've had
Swedish.
Yeah.
Which is also disgusting.
Yeah.
Japan also has a very challenging fermentation culture. They have this stuff called natto, which is like, it's a fermented grain, but it is really something special.
Really, every culture has fermented something.
They do.
This is before kind of cooking. I think this was an early form of cooking. Was fermenting.
Yeah, and it's because things would go bad, right? So you had to.
You try it.
You could either eat them when they were just a little bad, or you could eat them when they were really bad.
Preservation involves salt, drying, fermentation, or starvation.
Great
Those
part
are the
about
options, basically.
Hey, Ragnarok, it looks like this shark has fermented a little bit. What do you think? Should we eat it?
Lutefisk, they actually soak it in lye. Lutefisk means lye fish. So you soak it in poison, basically.
Yeah.
And then you have to leach the poison out and then reconstitute it. It's revolting.
When we were in Kristiansund in Norway, which is on the farthest west coast of Norway, they were famous for their klippfisk, which is cod. Klippfisk, which is cod, which is dried on the cliffs.
Oh yeah,
in the sun,
it becomes cardboard.
Yeah, but you could kill somebody with it. It's like a frisbee.
Actually, the lutefisk, they stack it up.
Yeah,
it's like plywood.
Yeah.
The guy, an Icelandic guy, showed me this stuff they have called Brynvin, which is a horrible, revolting alcohol that I'm not sure what it's made from, but. And I said, why on earth would anybody drink this? And he said, that's the only way you can get down the shark. And he told me about the shark.
That makes the shark taste good. I think it's interesting how taste is really conditioned by what you grew up with, right?
It is. And if you look at what people actually eat around the world, it's, somebody was starving at some point and they,
actually, someone in the chat room just reminded me of something which is related to your cheese. And I won't go into that in any more detail, but they mentioned this Chinese delicacy called 1,000-year-old eggs.
Yes.
Or black eggs, which basically go bad, and then they're horrible. And
they bury them.
And you eat them, yeah. And I mentioned this to a Chinese friend of mine, and I said, this sounded like just a horribly revolting food. And he said, you know what? You're right. I thought the same thing when someone told me how you make cheese.
Uh-huh. They don't do dairy.
Bad,
They don't do dairy in Asia.
and then you squish it together, and then it goes even more bad, and then stuff grows on it, and then it smells so bad you can barely get it in your mouth. And I said, you know what? Now that you mention it, that does sound horrible.
Yeah. Don't look it up.
And then there's Marmite.
No, that's not bad. That's just yeast. Don't look it up. But the single worst food in the world is balut. But don't look it up because you'll be sorry. BALUT.
You might be right.
You might really wish you had the right to be forgetting. Nexus 6 is coming out in 5 days, 29th.
Yep.
We're going to do a live
we are.
You guys
stream.
Go there?
Yeah. Mike's going.
There. Yes.
Mike's going.
Yep.
Jason's going to be on vacation. He poorly planned vacation.
He's going to be in Iceland.
I planned my vacation well before the event. Had I known, I probably would have planned differently. But
I felt the same way when I was in New York City during the iPhone announcement.
I would love to go to the event.
Yeah.
I also would love to go to vacation.
We will next week hear about the 2 new Nexus phones, we believe. And you have been waiting, haven't you, Jeff Jarvis, to hear about this phone?
Yes,
and then
I'll probably get the large one, but except you know, I gotta say I'm a little nervous about being made in China. You know, the latest ThinkPad revelations.
Actually, it's not the ThinkPad; it's Lenovo. The ThinkPads, as far as we know, are clean.
What about them?
But some Lenovo laptops. You know, first they had the Superfish thing on there. Now we learned a couple of weeks ago that Lenovo was putting software on a Windows install that they would then, even if you wiped the hard drive, the BIOS on the Lenovo's would reinstall the software. It was used to update. I think it was used to update, but it might have had other privacy implications, and certainly
reporting stuff back.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, iPhones are made in China, so
everything is made in China. If that's your single concern, I think you're out of luck.
That's true.
There are a few phones made in Thailand, I think, and maybe some in Japan.
I think I can get a Windows phone, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I don't think there's any phone made in the U.S. For a while, Motorola was assembling its phones in Texas, but they stopped doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the bigger Nexus that's slightly smaller than the. I think as you said before, we found probably the upper limit of big.
6 inches is as big as you want, I think. Yeah.
It's probably, so the slightly smaller will probably be right.
So the 5X and the 6P.
Yep.
Which color should I get? If those are the real colors, I'm thinking the
pink?
dark one is nice.
So
they don't have pink.
How is it better than the 6?
It's just newer, Matthew.
Let me see.
I'm a schmuck for this.
It's going to be smaller, actually. The 6P will be 5.7 inches.
My phone is perfectly fine, Matthew. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
You penurious Canadian, you.
No, I have a 6, and I'm wondering, would it be better? Or
I call penury.
I have kayaks to pay for.
So I do think that the 6P is the right size. This is a 5.7 inch. This is the Note 5. And that is, I don't know why 0.3 inches makes a difference, but it does.
Yeah.
It's just, the 6 is just a little too big. But you're carrying a 6 right now.
Well, yeah.
I think you'd like a 5.7.
Which has got dirty, but this white case.
That stupid Google Fi case, yeah.
It is stupid, but it's why I like it because the buttons.
And you still haven't turned on Fi?
No.
Why not?
You don't want to know that.
Okay.
The main reason to get
Does it involve the French?
Just because it's a long.
The main reason to get the new Nexus is fingerprint reader, right?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
I am of the opinion now that you should not buy a phone that doesn't have a fingerprint reader. Period.
Yep.
With Google, or rather Android Pay, with Apple Pay, for a myriad of reasons and convenience as well. So there is on the back, which actually is a sensible place to put it. I think.
Yeah, it's the second best place to put it.
First best is the on-off switch.
It's right on the bottom where the Apple iPhone puts it because you hold it naturally and it's a great place.
So I'm not sure. There's a new phone. I can't remember which one is it that has it on the on-off switch, Jason.
That's a Sony.
Sony, yeah.
Sony. That kind of seems sensible because you're going for the on-off switch anyway, and you just all you do is you touch it, and that's it.
I really like that one.
So that we should get one of the new Xperias when they come out. But I'm sure we'll get. Which one are you getting, Jason? The 5X or the 6P?
I don't know. It's hard. It's difficult for me to choose. I want to get them both, but I don't know.
He asked
to
me.
be honest.
He asked me. He was hoping I would help the decision because he was going to get whatever I didn't get. He said,
I don't know.
What are you going to get? So he could get that would, but I haven't decided.
the 5 from 2 years ago is still, in my opinion, probably one of the best Nexus devices that there has been. So it's a good reason for me to check out the new 5. But then
it'll be
I like the larger
LG,
screen.
same manufacturer.
Yep, same manufacturer.
The camera will be better, we're sure, because the LG G4 actually has an excellent camera. The Nexus 5, not so much.
Yeah, crossing my fingers that we finally have a Nexus device with a great camera.
With a good camera.
I'll hold out hope on that, but I'm not sure.
Is this the first?
That's going to happen.
Jason, is this the first major Huawei that we could get in America?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
unless you went to
right. You could buy it
a Chinese site.
No, but I mean, legitimately retail the.
Yes.
Huawei entrance into America.
This is the first time a Chinese a Huawei or ZTE or Xiaomi has sold a phone direct in the United States, I think.
It's going to be the first time when you're going to see Huawei phones in the wild in America on a regular basis.
Right.
I have never seen one.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never seen anybody using a Huawei.
Well, you have a Xiaomi, don't you, Jason? You have a Xiaomi line.
We have the Xiaomi Mi 4. Yeah, here. I mean, but we had to buy that online through some random channel in order to get it. Huawei, you can buy their devices in the U.S. by going to the Huawei site. So you can get them here. It's not a matter of importing them. It's just I don't know if you can get Huawei devices through a carrier. Like if you go into a carrier store, I don't know if they're going to be carrying Huawei devices.
5X will be 5.2 inches, the rumor mill says. It looks just as ugly, frankly, as the 6P. Both of them are kind of ugly. That's the 6P.
This right here would be the 5X, yeah.
The 6P has a periscope on the top.
Yeah. I'm really curious about
both are not exact. But see, Google doesn't need to make attractive. These are, I still think, developer platforms. I really don't think that they intend these to be consumer-grade, consumer phones.
I hope so, because that when they were really in the zone with making it a sort of a phone you could take apart and really tinker with, and everything was open, I thought that was really the way to go. It was a differentiator for Google.
It's ironic because Google really broke the mold when they started selling the Nexus 1. It was the first phone not sold through a carrier.
Yeah.
And they stopped doing it because it was nobody bought at the time.
Nobody was used to buying them like that.
Nobody bought them, and now even Apple is starting to be sold carrierless, and I think that's
Samsung
and Samsung. So I think that's the wave of the future. Maybe
subsidies are gone, so
maybe the time is right for Google to get back into the consumer market with a Nexus. People who have the Nexus, now it's mostly our audience who are geeks and enthusiasts, but they love it.
Yeah.
They're like you, Jason. They say this is the best phone ever.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of value to the update aspect of owning a Nexus, especially for fans of the platform. They want to be as up to date as possible, and that's worth being on a Nexus for.
That's why I got the Nexus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I didn't get a
Pure
Samsung
Android.
or an LG.
It's really too bad because that's a kind of the fatal flaw of Android right now, is that not all phones get that luxury.
Right.
And unfortunately, the majority of people get the phones that don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
And so it ends up being a big problem.
Type-C connector. I'm actually happy about that.
Yeah.
Well, the OnePlus 2 is a Type-C, but really it's just a USB 2 port masquerading as a 3.1 port.
Yep.
And what we really want is the full-speed 3.1 Type-C port that's bidirectional.
Yeah.
So I mean that would be remarkable, and I'm hoping that they do that. We're also going to see a new Apple TV. We already did a new Chromecast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's starting to blur.
Same thing.
It's device season. That happens.
You know what? It's always device season now. There's no time off.
Yeah.
What do we know about the new Chromecast?
Funny looking in shape. It's
it looks
cool.
like a ping pong paddle or something.
Yeah,
if we believe it.
A whoopee cushion was what Flo said last night. It really does kind of look like a whoopee cushion.
I think that has to do with antenna, I would guess.
It's got to be.
Good thought.
Yeah.
Got better Wi-Fi.
You should get better Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter because it's behind the TV anyway, right?
Yeah, which is interesting because you're seeing colored options for something that you're just going to have stuck behind the TV.
Do they have rose gold?
They have pink, it looks like, or maybe red. I don't know. I really think the Chromecast does not get enough respect. I still think that's the best device out there.
It's
me
phenomenal.
too. I think it's pretty great.
$35.
Even though mine seems to have problems connecting to the Wi-Fi network, and I don't know why. It just periodically won't.
I don't think that's typical. I have great results. In fact, it does better than most of the other devices. I mean,
it could be my janky network, too.
Yeah. You know what? Wi-Fi's gotten worse because everybody, even at the lake now, everybody has it.
Well, that's one of the features, supposedly, of the new Chromecast is AC support, so faster internet.
That would be good.
Fast play, all that kind of stuff.
Good.
I wonder if it'll do anything special with the new router.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So happy that I did not buy the on hub.
So Jake did hook it up, said that it wasn't, basically equal in the house, and he repacked it. Yeah.
It's overpriced for an average Wi-Fi router. I'm very happy with the Asus AC3200, which will be the top of the line for a few days more till a new one comes out. Do we know?
I'm interested in that Chromecast audio thing, which is also in the lineup, I think.
Yes.
That could be interesting for sort of non-Sonos users.
Yeah.
Which is funny because that's my Wi-Fi name. I name my Wi-Fi after dead rock stars. I have Hendrix, Winehouse, Joplin. It's easy to remember. What is it? Is it like
you plug these into your speakers around the house, and then that synchronizes the music going?
It's Sonos.
Basically.
It kind of is. It turns your speakers into a Sonos, instead of a specific Sonos speaker.
Yep. Now, it's very hard using just Wi-Fi to synchronize speakers all around the house. People have been able to cobble this kind of thing together before. It's not that hard to do with Bluetooth dongles, Wi-Fi dongles. Yeah. But the problem is that a speaker in the living room is slightly off from the speaker in the bedroom, and when you hear this kind of echoing effect, that's not good. Sonos has some sort of secret sauce. They do their own network that seems to really eliminate that. It's amazing. You put it in party mode, all your speakers, and I have a lot of them, are all in sync, and you can literally the whole house is rocking. Yeah. And you can walk anywhere, and they're all in sync. But that's not trivial. So,
is it using the Wi-Fi access point inside the house, or is it talking to each other through its own connected network?
It does its own mesh
I wonder
network.
if this is going to do the same thing.
You have to do that. Although they did add Wi-Fi recently.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, I don't use it, but the mesh network works quite well. You use Wi-Fi to configure it, obviously, and it uses Wi-Fi to get radio or whatever, but somehow they synchronize themselves through their own devices. Hendrix, it has a 3.5 millimeter headphone cable, one that goes into Hendrix, one that goes into your speaker. So you'd presumably have you'd need powered speakers. That makes sense. Why not let people buy their own speakers?
Yeah.
That's one of the, with Sonos, you have to, in general, you use their speakers, although they do have a Connect that allows you to use your own speakers. I use that. Well, this is going to be a big announcement. September 29th. What time does it start?
9 a.m. Pacific.
Now, the home run would be, and I don't think they're going to do it, but the home run would be to make this something like an Amazon Echo type of interaction with Google.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Big.
Just have the voice be throughout the house wherever there's a speaker.
We did. I mentioned this on Windows Weekly, and I apologize if you watch both shows. So Lisa and I are parking this morning in the lot, and we drove by a nice-looking Corvette, had a badge on it that said 50. And I said, what does that mean? Does that mean that's the 50th anniversary edition Corvette? I said, has Corvette been around that long? She said, I don't know. Let me ask Siri. And in my head, I said, oh, you have a lot of unjustified faith in Siri. So why don't you go ahead and ask Siri, when was the Corvette first released? Just see what you get.
When was the Corvette first released?
Checking my sources. Here's what I found on the web for when was the Corvette first released.
So Siri is kind of dumb, and she gave me the Wikipedia entry for.
Okay, Google. Okay, Google. I shouldn't have said it twice. We've got to really be conditioned how to use these machines. Okay, Google. When was the Corvette first released?
June 30th, 1953. According to Wikipedia,
now then it goes on and on and on. It's like your little friend. It's like the Cliff Clavin.
Model year, originally designed
Nice.
The Mustang. I think the Mustang is also.
At the New York Auto Show, it generated enough interest to induce GM to make a production version to sell to the public.
It's really Cliff Clavin. Well, actually, I don't know if you know this, but it actually induced GM to release its own production version. But the point being, really, and that's the new Siri.
There's a new Siri.
That's the new smarter Siri.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and we did it with a few other things just to see, and I have to say, Google really still.
And the Apple.
And then I asked Paul Thurrott to try it with Cortana. And the problem is Siri and Cortana both use Bing search.
Yeah.
So it had the same issue.
You know, it's what's funny is that we talk a lot about these virtual assistants, but the most interesting one by far is Microsoft. Oh. No, Microsoft's Chinese one called Xiaoice.
I haven't tried Xiaoice.
Xiaoice is not an assistant. It doesn't help you. And I don't know if you can try it in English. I think it's only in Mandarin or something like that.
Well, let's get.
But according to John Markoff, who with the New York Times, who Megan and I interviewed the other day for our
I love John Markoff.
Yeah, he's awesome. He did a great article in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago where he pointed out that 25% of Xiaoice users have told it, "I love you."
Wow.
It's not a personal assistant, it's a chat bot. So what they do is they mine the Chinese social media for what people say and what people say in response to those things. And they pack all this into the database. So when you interact with it, you're essentially talking to the Chinese hive mind.
Oh.
And it also learns about you personally. So it becomes a friend.
There's no mind like the Chinese hive
There's
mind.
nothing
Let
like
me tell you, folks.
Exactly.
Wow.
But it's supposed to be amazing, and people go off and spend a lot of time with this thing.
So here's the translation that the Times published.
That sounds like her.
So it does sound like her. I want her, by the way.
Yeah.
If her ever comes out, I'm never leaving the house. Yeah. So the questions they're asking. This is the Chinese speaker. I'll do her in a high voice. Hannah, do you want to see my pet dog? How old is it? Have a look first, then guess. Can you give me a hint? I want to hug and pet it. 8 years old. I was pretty close, give or take 10 years. I took my dog for a walk today. If you don't walk or feed it, it will be pushing daisies after a while. Ha ha. You could keep it in a greenhouse. That's no good. This is like Eliza.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's Eliza.
What would you do then? Build a home for it inside. Set up a home, warm hat. What do you think of my cooking? Nice. Hug. Just to make, I'm sure, then she sends a picture of her food. I'm sure you sent that picture just to make my mouth water. Ooh, that's impressive. Want some? Anything delicious, I have to try. How did I do? I think you're great, smiley face. Picture of 2 dogs. I could tell right away it's a purebred husky. Huskies? I got to go back to the Cliff Clavin voice. Huskies are the goofballs of the dog world, and they're fighter jets of the goofball world. Look at those cute little eyes. Aren't they just dreamy? What do you think is the best way to describe this kind of dog? My dog likes to play outside. Does it have fun? A lot of fun. I'm having fun, too. What do you think of my dog? Really beautiful.
It's driving me crazy.
This is Eliza. This is just a good Eliza.
Yes.
Oh.
Ask it when the Corvette was first released. Yeah. That's what I want to know. How about this?
But imagine those two things combined. Imagine if you had a chatbot, and the original chatbots were supposed to do that. But imagine if you had one that had the intelligence of Google Now or Siri in it. That would be it.
This is just around the corner because, of course, messaging is the hot platform right now. Facebook, big time pushing into that with M and other things. WhatsApp. I'm a big fan of Telegram. The creator of Telegram, the Mark Zuckerberg of Russia, Pavel Durov, who ran when Putin basically confiscated his company. And is in Berlin right now. Actually, I think he's has a place of no known abode because he's probably still a little scared of Putin. But he created Telegram as a private messaging service. He told TechCrunch Disrupt on Monday that they have gone from 1 billion messages a day in January to 12 billion messages a day. But not much of an increase in monthly active users, about 60 million, which is still a small fraction of what WhatsApp does. So,
well, I remember when somebody told me WhatsApp had exceeded the entire SMS network globally.
Wow.
It wasn't that long ago.
Messaging is hot. No, there's no, I mean, it's the thing. And I think the key on messaging is to add these features.
Yeah.
Telegram has great, I have a bot on Telegram. Telegram has great bots. I think it's just a matter of time.
How many people do you know on Telegram?
Pardon me? Not many. That's part of the problem. But I have 400 people following my Telegram bot. That's pretty good.
The thing that's
what
interesting
does your
about
bot do?
It says things like, Leo just arrived at the studio. I have it connected with my my car has an automatic, so when I pull up, and turn off the ignition at a certain geographic area, it tells the bot, and the bot goes, Leo's just pulled up. Maybe a show's about to begin. And then in my calendar, it looks at my calendar, and when the show's, it says that. And when I post to Instagram, it posts. It does. It's just. It's kind of a way of aggregating different stuff.
And it helps us here on the staff because we put away the scotch and tell the strippers.
Put away the strippers. Leo's just pulled up. Unfortunately, the bot that the technology I'm using has gotten latent, and so it's now like 3 hours later. It's saying Leo just pulled up. So here's one other thing: the SoundHound folks have Hound.
Yes, only on Android and it's in beta.
And it's very interesting because it is a weird kind of cross-site search. So they promote things like you could say, "Show me hotels in Seattle for this weekend that cost less than $300."
Yeah.
Japanese restaurants in San Francisco within walking distance of the ferry building. Those things would be very useful. I found it be where'd that camera?
I know the camera's placed horribly. Sorry about that.
So I found it very interesting because it's incredibly fast. I'll just use one of their samples. Well, actually, give me a sample so we don't. Let's see. Hotels in Santa Rosa
that are child friendly under $200.
Give me some hotels in Santa Rosa that are child-friendly for under $300.
Maybe child-friendly is...
It got all...
2 results near Santa Rosa for maximum of $300 US per night that are family hotels.
Family hotel. Okay.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
All right. I wonder though, let's see. It's very fast. When was the Corvette released?
Showing search results for when was the Corvette released?
Not so useful. What time is it in Peru right now? What time is it in Peru right now?
It is 5:21 p.m. in Peru.
I don't know how they make it so fast, by the way. That's got to be, that's as close to instant as you can get. By the way, that's important, right? Siri sometimes takes a really long time.
Alexa, or at the Echo with Alexa is very fast as well. Much faster than Siri. We have little contests and races.
I love Alexa.
Yeah, it's so good.
And I think that geeks now who have Alexa, I'm sorry, Echo, I shouldn't say the A word. Geeks now who have Echo, I'm seeing a lot of them kind of sharing our, like, you know what? This is really good.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. And it's not so different from talking to Siri or Google, but I think it's because it's your house.
And it's just always there.
Yeah, you're talking to your house.
The other thing is I've noticed multiple improvements that just happen. So we use it heavily for timers, and we have multiple timers.
Me too.
And now it keeps track of them. It's like, well, this is one timer, this is the second timer. Would you like to cancel the 10-minute timer or the 45-minute timer?
Yeah, it has multiple timers,
Just a month ago, that didn't exist.
It also has multiple accounts. So Lisa has an Audible account, and I have an Audible account. And I can say, switch accounts, read my book, and it will read Lisa's book. Switch accounts, read my book, it'll read my book.
Yep.
I use the timers for tea.
Me too.
It's a great tea timer.
It's great. we just use timers, the weather, sometimes what time it is. If I have my hands full, I want to know what time it is.
It's like a little buddy.
We use it for conversions, like how many teaspoons in a gallon, and.
But imagine mixing that Chinese.
My wife would just shoot me.
No, she wouldn't. No,
my kids, my wife, they would all just, you've gone over.
They would all love it. They would all love it.
They would come around. You know what? I thought the same thing. I told Lisa, now, don't be mad at me, but we're going to put this thing in here. It really, if you hate it, I'll take it out. She loves it. We got a second one.
Yeah.
I think your wife would like it, Jeff.
Yeah. But when I dictate a text, she just.
No, but this isn't like that. This is more like you ask a question. And you get an answer, and she actually has some smart things. You can say who shot first and stuff like that.
Why doesn't Google have something like that?
Exactly. That's
where this came from, and I bet you on the 29th they will.
Yeah.
Google
now it's been around so long and it's had such a great reputation, but you have to actively say, I'm going to go find and use Google now.
Yeah.
Whereas Alexa's just you talk and it answers. It's like, that's how it should be. That's how Google now should be.
It will be.
So the ambient internet.
I predict that's maybe even what that little Hendrix will do.
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, and if it comes with Scarlett Johansson's voice, they got a lock.
Was it on last week's show that we had Siri's voice, the woman who does Siri?
We've never had the woman who does Siri on this show.
Oh, no, not on the show.
Someone else's show.
I talked about her on iOS Today.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You've seen Susan Bennett.
Susan Bennett has a demo reel in which she interviews herself as Siri. Was that it?
No. Now I remember. A friend of mine, suddenly Susan Bennett is following him on Facebook. He can't figure out why. but she's the voice of Siri, so he feels like he's, touched a celebrity. That was what it was.
He can't figure out why. Here, let's hear Susan Bennett.
Here today with one of my alter egos, Siri.
Siri here.
May I call you Siri?
Call me Rock Goddess.
Okay, Rock Goddess.
This is
Other
a little
than the
weird.
iPhone and iPad,
Yeah.
where have we heard your, my voice?
Did you see Mission Impossible 4?
4 hours, 52 minutes.
Delta Airlines gates worldwide.
Thank you for choosing Delta Airlines. What about TV and radio?
Searching the web for Siri, Susan Bennett, voiceover.
Chiquita, quite possibly the world's perfect food. You can have it all right now with the Accurate TSX. At Papa John's, we don't have to keep
makes a
Anyway,
hell of a career, though.
This is
She
her
makes money
voiceover
doing
demo reel. Oh, there's big money in this.
Jeez.
It's kind of ironic. She was the voice of the first ATM machine.
Was she?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tilly,
that's right.
the all-time teller.
Tilly,
First automated teller machine.
Tilly, the all-time teller.
You know what pisses me off? Newark Airport. The announcements like, don't leave your thing around. Right?
Yeah.
It's a Southern accent. It should be a New York accent.
Hi,
In Newark,
welcome to Newark.
Hey,
Hey,
idiot, fool.
hey.
Don't you leave your box around.
Stop doing that.
Really? It's a Southern accent?
Southern accent.
I bet they did research that found that people are less, that's more. Don't you think if somebody said with a nice honeyed Southern accent?
I find it geographically offensive.
One of
we're proud of our accents.
One of the most appealing accents, apparently, and this is not just because I'm Canadian, is the Canadian accent, because it's almost,
Of course,
it's not obvious, so it's not, offensive because it's obviously some other place. But they will actually teach people who do voiceovers to try and simulate a Canadian accent. Because it's close enough to
I think
American.
that's something that they made up in Canada. I don't think that's true.
No, I think that's true.
It's totally
With the
true.
exception of the OU and the double E.
Yeah, obviously they don't do the oot and a boot thing, but the
Or the double E,
it's-
the beat.
It's different enough. It's different enough, but close enough.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
I think
I got to
Matthew's
find
right.
some supporting research here.
And there are multiple Canadian accents, and
Exactly.
some of them are nicer than others, I have to say.
Right. Agreed.
But
Do you want to talk more about Signal? You wrote a nice
Sure.
article about it in Fortune.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, it's obvious that, the technology actually, I don't think is all that interesting. It's not.
What
that
is
much
it?
different from. So it's a tool effectively for journalists to find things that are newsworthy on Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook wants
And reshare it or to actually use it on their...
to embed it. So the
embed
tool-
it.
It's basically a dashboard that gives you an easy way to search for terms, keywords, etc., hashtags, and then you can find content that's been posted. You can sort of rank it effectively, and then you can aggregate it, curate it, and embed it easily.
So Twitter,
has something
Twitter's
very
done
similar.
this too, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Twitter. I forget what Twitter's is called, but Curator or something like that. I just thought it was interesting that Facebook has been making a whole bunch of moves in various ways to try and appeal more to media companies. So I think this is one aspect of that. They're trying to get media companies to put their content on the platform. They're trying to make it more appealing for media entities to work with Facebook. They're trying to reach out more. And I think this is, they're trying to get, obviously, Facebook content highlighted in news reports as well.
I'm kind of, day after tomorrow, Apple's new iPhone comes out, and it features something called Live Photos.
Yeah.
Facebook and Apple have already been working together to put Live Photos in the iOS app of Facebook. Facebook has also announced that they're going to allow 360-degree video in its news feed, video that you could create with a variety of cameras like GoPros. And actually, I hope that the Ricoh Theta will work with it. Did you ever play with the Theta?
I did.
Did you review it?
I did. And there's a new version.
Which I've
reviewed the
ordered.
old
I
one.
cannot wait to
It's
get.
going to be great. And you absolutely can do.
That's
I
a
think
little
actually.
It looks like a an Apple a TV remote. It's
Yeah,
just a
right,
little
right.
kind of thing.
There's a fisheye lens on either side.
And it'll take a 360-degree, not just still, but live video.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is very interesting.
Yep.
You know what I want to do? I want to do like a serious show like this. And you could watch it. And then the
Right.
idea is you could look around. but then have dancing girls on the other side of the camera. And we're just serious and we're talking like this. And if somebody should by chance look over, they'll go, what the?
Yeah. Or circus clowns with a chainsaw.
Or circus clowns or just like weird stuff on the other side.
Yeah.
They actually did that with HD. Do you remember some shows would actually have special content that you could only see if you had
High
HD?
def? What does it look like?
Well, it was there would be something in the frame that you could only see.
Oh, because it was widescreen on the edges. Yeah, it's just like that. No, I ordered this. I don't know. It's supposed to come out pretty.
Was it the Theta S? Is that the?
Yeah, the Theta S. The problem with the one you had is the quality was pretty bad.
It was pretty low, and this is supposed to be much better. And also the quality of what they do. So there's obviously part of the world that can't be seen through a camera because the camera's in the way.
Right.
Right. So the bottom sort of center, and they have this supposedly great software that sort of stitches it together in a way that makes it vanish somehow.
I'm afraid I'm going to throw up when I look at my Facebook feed. Like, I'm afraid.
It's going to get very rich.
Oh, you know what's driving me nuts, Matthew? You know what's driving me completely nuts right now? Trigger of triggers for me. You're going to love this, folks. The movie about the guy who walked across the Twin Towers.
Oh, I don't want to see that at all.
The previews, the thought of it, I'm doing it to myself right now. Between that and my 9/11 thing and my heights, it's just the perfect storm for my psychosis to come out.
There is a incredible documentary about this guy that came out a few years ago.
It's amazing, yeah.
I've never seen ever.
Philippe Petit. He did it in 1974. He strung a high wire.
Don't show any video, please.
Don't show them.
I shouldn't torture Jeff like this. He strung a high wire across the between the two towers and walked across them. And of course, no net because don't look. No, stop. I don't want to see. It makes me a little queasy. I've seen the movie trailers and I'm going.
Is it safe?
Yes.
So
it's
imagine
safe.
if there was a 360-degree autoplay video of that.
Oh.
I've seen some videos of like sort of amateur Russian daredevils as kids who go up on the top of these buildings.
They're crazy.
And they do somersaults on the edge and they hang over just one guy's holding the other guy. It just it makes me
poor Jeff, because those are very popular on Facebook. You must see those all the time.
I can't bear them. The previews for Everest.
Yeah. So you probably would never go somewhere like on the Hancock building in Chicago where the floor is glass.
Well, no, you know who does that? Those sadistic Canadians.
CN Tower, baby.
CN Tower.
Oh, that's creepy, that CN Tower. Although I went up there and had dinner once because it rotates.
Yeah, it's great.
And that's a beautiful view. And the floor is opaque.
Mm-hmm.
Actually was sitting there, was Mikkel Oland, my photography friend, and I, and somebody proposed to his girlfriend right next to us. He got on his knees.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of that. Canadians like to get married.
From the height.
I haven't done the edge walk yet.
Yeah, that I actually didn't do because I don't know how well I would do.
I would like to.
Really?
Yeah, I would do it.
So we it's official now. The final count is in, and we ordered 18 Fire tablets. Amazon's new Fire tablet. They sell in a 6-pack if you want it, and
for the price of 5.
For the price of 5, you get a 6th. Father Robert saw this, and I think he was kind of surprised. He sent out an email saying, "Hey, these tablets end up being like $46 when we all chip. Did anybody want one?" 3 6-packs later.
Wow.
Yep.
Crazy.
Disposable.
Yep.
Well, the next thing that's going to happen is, newspapers have tried for years to give away tablets to get usage.
Yep.
Yep.
Now, Washington Post.
And the thing is that after taxes, each one of them, if you get the 6 for the price of 5, is $48 and I don't know 30-something cents, or something like that. Super cheap. I mean, that is. So
Are you getting one?
I'm getting one. I was the first one in the pool, man.
If you lose one, or you leave it in your hotel, or
even if you use it as a cutting board, it's a good price.
Yeah, cutting boards are more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I got this idea. I'm flat. Elgin at the Elgin household, right? The cheese board is a fire, and when you slice the cheese, it tells you about the cheese you're slicing.
Oh,
yeah, that's a great
We
idea.
made this camembert.
That's a pretty thick slice there, Fatty. You might want to back off on that.
That's the one I need. That's
so. Did I read somewhere that they were going to clean up the Android on the Fire tablets, make it more
Yes,
Android-y?
it's not. It doesn't have the carousel anymore, I think.
Yeah, the thing about these tablets that is the important takeaway is they've they've abandoned their illusion that they are a compelling tablet in comparison with other tablets, and they basically said, if you're a Prime member, this is the physical embodiment of Amazon Prime. You can download stuff and watch it. You can buy stuff really easily. And that's exactly what they should be doing. So if you don't use Amazon, then you don't want one of these tablets.
But let's think about this.
Go ahead.
This fits perfectly with this. Sort of reinforces the difference between Amazon and Apple. So Apple makes great hardware and then tries to convince you to use its crappy content services so that you'll buy hardware. Amazon is the exact opposite.
That's why you can never compete with Amazon on price because they don't care if they make money.
They don't care about it.
And Apple has to make money on the hardware. That's the only thing it's going to make money on.
In fairness, Apple's content services are either crappy or overpriced. They have high-quality overpriced content services.
Not
like
either.
Apple TV.
And. It's an and, not an or.
Take your pick.
The Amazon video stuff works very well on my Android tablet.
Yes.
I've been downloading stuff.
Yes.
Quite well.
I buy stuff on Amazon streaming all the time.
I might get some.
Frankly, it's either that or Google Play, unless the only place you get it is Apple.
Have you seen Hand of God?
I started watching it. Wow.
It is a mind-blowing show.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he is so great, Ron Perlman.
Yeah,
Ron Perlman
awesome.
plays a judge who has a religious awakening after his son commits suicide and then goes on a vigilante spree to find the killer.
Yeah, and it takes place in a fictional town in Silicon Valley, actually.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I only saw the first one, but I liked it.
I'm going to get a 6-pack of tablets, I think.
And by the way, congratulations to Amazon, 5 Emmy Awards for Transparent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why they're celebrating. It's down in the numbers section. That's okay.
We'll get to don't use it. Don't waste a number.
And they just signed
numbers. I got numbers.
They signed a bunch of other deals too, right? Did you see that? They launched. They announced a bunch of deals with I think Louis C.K.
Yes, that's right.
It helps when you win an Emmy. That kind of gives you some credibility, right?
But also on September 25th at 12 a.m. They will have a sale. Amazon Prime, normally $99, will be on sale for $67.
Oh, everybody should run and get it. That's if you're not in it. Well, I guess if you didn't buy on Amazon, it wouldn't be worth it. But boy, you get so much benefit from that.
Yeah.
You really do. You really do. It's phenomenal.
Although it's actually, I was a little depressed last week because garbage night is Monday. So it was this week, a couple of nights ago, and I'm breaking down boxes.
Yeah.
And from 1 week, Amazon boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot. Like it took me an hour.
Yeah.
And we have a fairly big I recycled, so they're in the recycling bin, but it's a big recycling bin. I was jamming them in towards the end.
They're guilty pleasure. Every time I order something, I'm like, I should go to another site and buy this.
I feel like I've just ruined the environment just by being.
There should be an option where you don't get a box. It just comes in a bag.
They do have those. They have the low frustration packaging, but I'm sorry. No matter what, they always overpackage.
Yeah,
and the boxes are always too big.
With the direct delivery, the same day delivery. I'm sure that's what they'll do.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I hope so.
Yeah. Somebody's telling us
with the drones, it'll just have a parachute.
Humanless driving cars and.
It would make me happier.
Yeah,
I feel guilty enough about throwing away the gadget, but at least I don't have to.
Or leave the box on the porch, and when they drop something off, they can
reuse
take the box back.
You should recycle.
Yeah.
Not me. Why am I recycling your boxes, Amazon?
Exactly.
I'm having this vision that the drone is going to come to your front doors, and you're going to get a little call.
And there'll be a command: Alexa, drop the package.
Drop it. Drop it.
Drop it. Let go. Drop it.
Drop it.
Incidentally, those tablets you're getting, they're advertising supported. You know that?
Yep.
No ad blockers on that one.
Nope. No. Good luck installing one.
I have the ad-supported Kindle Paperwhite. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You don't see the ad.
No, it's good.
Man, somebody really bugging you.
I don't. It's like
see, that's the thing. Everybody, we all have ad blockers installed in our brains, right? We don't even see ads anymore.
Yeah.
It's a notification, not audio. That's turning it down won't help.
Yeah, I know.
That's confusing as hell, by the way.
Apple.
Thank you, Apple. There's different kinds of sounds with different controls. Who knew? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, everybody sitting out there. I can sing this song now without any pay royalties to Warner Chappelle Music. Happy birthday to you. So you have the story on Fortune. Happy birthday is now public domain. Finally.
It's not, though.
Oh, crap.
You're going to get sued.
Wait a minute. What? Can he edit that out?
It's not actually public domain.
Oh.
So all they found was that Warner does not hold a valid copyright.
Oh.
So that's not to say someone might not have a valid copyright. But let's face it, after it's been 100 and whatever years, the odds of someone actually arguing that, spending the time to argue that they have a valid copyright is pretty slim to nil, I would say.
Yeah. Warner bought this copyright in 1988 from another company.
And they've been making $2 million a year.
But they cost them $25 million. Now, here's the real question. Do they have to pay back the people they've been
So the plaintiffs in this case are basically mounting a second case to argue that Warner should have to cough up that $50 million.
So it was a filmmaker who intentionally used Happy Birthday, paid $1,500 in license fees. The whole purpose of it was she did a documentary about this so she could sue him.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And this is all, and actually they used a lot of the evidence that came up. I mentioned the Georgetown University law professor, I think, who's mentioned in the piece, did a massive amount of research in 2008, I think it was, and produced this paper, which I remember reading. It was just mind-boggling, the kind of effort he went to track down what happened in the 1890s, you know, with these sisters who wrote this little song and then sang it to kindergarten kids. Just fascinating, that story.
Highly recommended Matthew's article in Fortune, because it follows the trail. And you're the only one who got it right, that it's not public domain, that is now an orphan work.
Close enough.
Yeah. Well, it seems highly unlikely that somebody's going to come along and saying, no, I own it.
Yeah.
That means even if nobody does that, you can sing it with impunity until such time as somebody has the, says, oh, yeah, I own it.
It just reinforces, though, how, like, if this had not happened, that song would have been in copyright protection till 2030.
Yeah.
This is a song that was originally registered in 1935.
Because of Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So Mickey Mouse, as everybody knows, was created in 1927. Walt Disney stole him from another mouse that was created a year earlier, as was Disney's wont. As soon as he makes a movie, now we own Cinderella, baby. It's ours. Forget those Brothers Grimm. And they've been going, every time that copyright of Mickey Mouse was about to expire, they've gone to Congress with a bag of money and extended it. The last time they extended it was with the help of Sonny Bono. It's called the Sonny Bono Copyright Extension Act. So that takes us to 2030, so we don't have to worry about it for a while. Save your money. Save your Mickey dollars, Disney.
And
the one thing that this decision does is it prevents us from being subjected to the custom happy birthday songs that every restaurant has.
Happy birthday, happy to. Did they do that in Canada too?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, every restaurant and movies. It's so stupid. They sing "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow," like anybody would actually sing that. Right. Just pay the $1,500 for crying out loud. You're making a movie.
Have you gotten anything? The Getty threatening letters? Have you talked about that?
No. Why?
We missed out.
So
on
Sorry.
I forgot to put it in the rundown. That Getty is now going after photos and there's various cases about how to respond and
so Getty Images is a stock image, one of the biggest stock image firms, and these say that you're using a Getty image, but they have to prove you're using it.
Just Google Getty threatening letters, and the first link is an instruction letter on what to do with it
by the 1 hour professor, Ron Stefanski. But why would you get this letter if you didn't use an image?
Well, there was one case I saw. Again, this is third hand, so who knows? One case I saw where somebody's blog, they'd gotten a handout photo from a publicist for a present for something. They put that photo up, and then apparently Getty had bought that collection and said, no, we own that photo.
Well, that's legit. They own the photo. What's wrong with that?
Well, because they were given the photo for purposes of publication. So then after the fact, years later, we're told, no, we're not only do you have to take it down, but we're going to go after you.
They're saying it's retroactive.
Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, Lisa, did we ever get, I think we did get I think we paid it.
Really?
I think we did. Yes, it was for the Tech Guy Labs website. One of our editors had used an image, can't remember the provenance, but we got a letter from Getty and we just paid it. It wasn't that much. It was like $600, $500.
Right, but this is like copyright trolling. I mean,
so they may not actually own that. I was suspicious when I first saw it.
You don't own it.
But what we did is we searched the Getty site and we found it. But what you're saying is it may well have been a legitimate use, but retroactively copyrighted.
And the problem, of course, is that we know that the system of trying to find provenance on photos is nigh unto impossible.
Right.
And you could, somebody can put it up on a sharing service and mark the licenses for reuse, and you try to be the good citizen and you use it. And you don't, do they have the provenance? I don't know.
Well, ever since we have made sure that we only use licensed stuff from Shutterstock. So I guess Lisa's not around because I'm pretty sure we just paid it, and we said don't do that again. Here's your Shutterstock license.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. When we come back, numbers, tips, and all of that. We'll wrap this puppy up.
Can I throw one in before that?
Yeah.
Just a little note. Neil deGrasse Tyson interviewed Edward Snowden.
Yes, I saw that.
Did you see that?
I did.
And fascinating little thing is that Snowden's argument was that we may not be able to find aliens because there's an inevitability, he says, to encryption. You start with open communication. At some point, you're going to shut it down, and that the best encryption is indistinguishable from noise. So the noise we're hearing from outer space could be aliens. We won't know, and vice versa.
Yep. That space noise that we hear could be containing data, but we'd never know because it's encrypted.
Could be porn.
Might be worth trying to decrypt it. I think alien porn might have a market.
Alien porn. Did you see there was a video up this week? I forget, Mashmore or somebody showed people, just nice normal people in the park.
Porn VR helmets.
Yeah. Oh yeah, people were going nuts for it. Absolutely nuts.
When I saw that video, I thought, okay, this is going to be.
I have some.
This is the future. No, thanks.
Right. No thanks.
It could be a show.
Is there Is there any cardboard porn?
Yeah. Or you can use it on cardboard. Yeah. Oh. Problem with cardboard is you need two hands to hold it like that. So I have the Gear VR, which straps under your head, leaving your hands free.
Well, that's a bad visual.
I know.
Oh, is that the ad? Is this the ad?
No.
Okay.
No, I as a exercise, because I did think, it's nobody talks about this, but clearly this could be a very big market. And I noted that a number of well-known porn publishing companies were already doing VR porn. It's not very well done.
It's not very well done.
Oh, you've seen it too?
No. I saw the video that was referenced where they showed people in the park experiencing it for the first time.
Right.
And the thing that everybody was surprised about is that in this VR version of porn, you're one of the people.
Yes. Well, it's point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a person having relations with another person, and where that person's head would be is your camera.
Right.
So it's as if it's a point of view. It turns out that's kind of not that great. And then where they're shooting it, they need better cameras. There's not really immersive. I'll stop right there. No. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying they need to work somewhere. If they had that theta, I'm telling you, they could do something.
Yeah, where could that go?
I am gonna do a 360-degree video blog.
Yeah.
With as soon as this theta comes, because I think this is fascinating. And in fact, in December we're going on the Anthem of the Seas, which is this insane high-tech cruise ship that was just launched by Royal Caribbean. Because it's you open the door with your iPhone. I mean, everything is technology. They have a robot bartender.
Yeah.
And also
that one, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one that has the if you're in steerage, they give you the LCD screen of the
if you don't have a window, they put a high def 4K screen out there, and you actually see, and they have red cameras on the poop deck shooting the water. They actually do a virtual balcony, so it looks like it's your balcony, and it looks very realistic.
Yeah.
It's really kind of amazing.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, that is where I'm going to bring the theta. And you're going to get 360-degree views. It'll make you sick as a dog.
You in Lederhosen. Yeah, oh, good. I can't wait.
I really can't wait to get this Theta S. I hope the quality is decent, because you can post it now on YouTube and Facebook.
When are you expecting it?
It's pretty soon, I think. Actually, I'll check while I'm doing the ad.
Well, it's not that much more. It's $349. It's not that bad.
I ordered it the minute I saw it was available. You know why? Dick DiBartolo, our GizWiz, showed, because he was at the event where they announced it, and they took him out in Times Square. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You're looking around, you're in Times Square.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And if you put one of the VR helmets on, you literally are looking around.
Yeah.
Or you can watch it on YouTube or Facebook with your key, but that's not as good. Hey, let me tell you about ZipRecruiter.com, and then we'll get our final words on the show. ZipRecruiter is a solution for a problem a lot of you have if you're hiring. Of course, hiring is the most important thing you do in a business. I am not kidding. The people you hire are going to form the character of that business as long as they work for you. It's important to hire the right people, people who get the job done, but people who support your culture, your ethos. And thank goodness we've got the internet, because job sites really do make it easier to reach a much larger audience. But which job site? Which one do you use? There are more than 100. And by the way, you wouldn't want to use 100, right? Because can you imagine getting phone calls from every Tom, Dick, and Harry and all the emails? I got a better idea. It's ZipRecruiter. It's awesome. You do post to every job board, 100+ job boards with a single click. You also post to Twitter and Craigslist, all the social sites. You also get matched as soon as you use it with nearly 6 million current resumes. So within a day, you're going to start getting applicants, and good applicants. But here's the deal. You don't have to answer a phone call. You don't have to answer an email. It all rolls into the ZipRecruiter interface where you can quickly rank them, rate them, and hire the right person fast. It's really nice. Really nice. We've used it here and been very happy. ZipRecruiter, 400,000 businesses have used ZipRecruiter. Got an email from Lisa. Not my Lisa, another Lisa, said, I'm a business owner. I'm a novice when it comes to navigating job boards and searching for qualified candidates for my company. This morning, another near catastrophe that I avoided, thanks to a customer service agent by the name of Jed at ZipRecruiter. He not only helped me out, but he went above and beyond to make sure I was satisfied. For that, I am grateful, and I would recommend ZipRecruiter to anyone. Great customer service. A really incredible product, and you can try it right now free for the first 4 days at ZipRecruiter.com/twig. ZipRecruiter.com/twig. If you're doing the hiring, you owe it to yourself to use the best tool out there. ZipRecruiter.com/twig. Matt, you got anything you want to share with us? An idea, a tip, a demo?
Yeah, I was trying to think of something that I don't have any of the cool stuff that you guys have, but mostly because none of it works in Canada. But
I know, you poor fellow. You've got a box and play the guitar, and that's about it for entertainment.
They have those great accents.
And a kayak. But I do. Have I mentioned AirDroid before? I can't remember.
No,
so,
I know what it is, and I love it.
Maybe there's a better tool, but I found it when I was trying to get. I think I was trying to get something off my Nexus, and I was looking for an easy way to connect, the Nexus to the computer. AirDroid, it actually just keeps getting better. They added a whole bunch of new features. So you log in at web.airdroid.com and basically get access to your phone. And you can move files around. You can get instant messages on your desktop that have shown up on your phone. So if you leave your phone somewhere else, but you don't want to miss a text message, I've used it for a whole bunch of different things. I haven't seen it written about a lot, but it's a great tool. At least I find it for sort of getting access to stuff on your phone easily from your desktop.
I've used it for years. There's no wires. It uses Wi-Fi. It's great. I love AirDroid.
Yeah, and it just works.
And it's free, right? I've never paid. Oh, I guess they have a premium version now, but I've never paid for it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it's nice. AirDroid, AIRDROID.com. And now Jeff Jarvis has the latest numbers.
Okay, we'll do a number. I'll do two real quick. One is we should note that Instagram hit 400 million community.
That's nice.
Which is phenomenal.
Still love Instagram.
And people laughed at Zuck when he bought it. And there's pictures on Zuck's Facebook feed
for a measly $1 billion
on the roof.
Yeah, that was a deal after the WhatsApp sale. Everybody realized $1 billion's nothing.
Ben Thompson and I were talking about. He mentioned that he thought that was one of the best tech acquisitions of all time.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben says
the
that's pretty good.
other number just to mention is related to our earlier discussion about what happens to advertising. eMarketer says that the social advertising spend hit $25.1 billion this year. Facebook gets $16.3 billion of that. To Matthew's earlier point, that a lot of this money is going to go away anyway from what we now consider advertising toward what we think of as social.
And podcasts. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Right.
Yes.
I want to point out to anybody who's trying to reach a intelligent geek audience, there's nothing better than an ad on Twit, and it can't be blocked.
That's right.
Amen.
There. Thank you, Jeff Jarvis. What's your pick of the week, Mr. Mike Elgin?
Well, I want to recommend an app called Instant. Now, there are a bunch of trackers for lots of different things, including quantified self things for, your physical activity. There are all other trackers that keep track of where you go.
This looks good.
This single app tracks it all. And so it'll track how long you're at work, how long you're at home, how many minutes a day you spend on Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever. It tracks how much you've run, how much you've walked, how much you spend in a car driving, everything. Just you turn it on and it tracks everything. And with one app, you can delete all the other apps. And with this one app, you can just sort of track what you do. It quantifies everything that can be quantified.
Is it, it goes on your phone?
It goes on your Android phone.
How do it know?
Also, but you go to instantapp.today.
You'd have to put it on everything, right?
Well, you just put it on your phone and it keeps track. There's also a Mac version for Mac.
Well, because if you want to know what apps you've used and everything, you have to put in everything that you would use.
Yeah. They also have a brand new iOS version and a BlackBerry 10 version. But this on an Android device is a great way to just keep track of where you go, how much exercise you get, how much time you spend doing this, that, and the other thing. And it's fun to just let it go. And I love these that you don't have to launch it. You just launch it once. And then when you get curious, when you want to know something, then you go and you can check out the history.
It's watching you all the time.
That's right. You can surveil yourself. Go surveil yourself.
Some in-app purchases, it looks like. I don't know what those would be, but I like this idea.
Yeah, it's a nice interface too.
Yeah, because your phone really is a fitness tracker. It actually does a very good job as long as you keep it on you.
Yeah.
Folks, I think we're going to wrap this up. I thank Jeff Jarvis for making the effort to get here on time. We appreciate it. He's now on FaceTime, I think.
Well, it crashed, so I'm now on my Nexus 7.
Nice. That's cool. I don't care. Buzzmachine.com. Follow him on Google+. And, of course, read his great books, the latest of which is Geek Sparing Gifts, and it's on Amazon, as all his books are. Just search for
out in German now.
And you pronounce that?
I don't know how they came up with a new title. They always change the title.
Yeah. Jeff, we'll see you next week. Thank you. Have fun at ONA. Thanks to Matthew Ingram. He's from Fortune.com. We love Matthew and his canoes, and always glad to have you on. Have a great afternoon. I appreciate your being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care. And Mike Elgin, our news director, you can see him Monday through Friday on TNT Tech News today, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC.
That's right.
And we'll be back Thursday. I'll be back.
Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for the Oculus event.
That's tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
No, it's Thursday.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
What day is tomorrow?
Thursday.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yes. This is an actual reality, not just virtual reality.
Is this real reality? Tomorrow, 10 a.m., we'll be doing it. I'll be there for that.
Yes. And we have some great guests as well.
Oculus Rift, big event. Huh?
Is this real life?
I don't know. I'm confused. This is Wednesday? Then I better get out of here.
I think so.
I'm Leo Laporte. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.